Friday, July the 17th. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of That's What G Said podcast. We're going to have one of those around the horn episodes today, but a lot of heavy on the horse racing and then heavy on some wrestling towards the end. We'll bounce around with the sports news early on. Hope everyone's having a nice week, doing well. I've been in the midst of a Saved by the Bell rewatch. Very excited to hear that on the Peacock, the new streaming service for NBC, later on this year, they're going to have a little Saved by the Bell not a reboot, but we're going to pick up with Zach Morris, with AC Slater, and as older, Jesse's going to be in it too, so that'll be a lot of fun. Well, let's get right into it. We're going to talk Friday Saratoga, Friday Pleasanton. We're going to do a Friday stable duel lineup for Monmouth, Saturday Saratoga, Saturday Monmouth, Saturday Pleasanton. We'll do a stable duel lineup for Saturday Monmouth, a little preview for WWE Extreme Rules coming up this weekend, and then the old wrestling rewatch with Darin, Zoccali, and Andrew Champagne. We do a long one on Wrestlemania 19, which was a great show. We go match by match, talk about everything that happened at Wrestlemania 19 back in 2003. So, let's start out with some news in the NFL. Not a whole lot of positive news in the last few days in the NFL. First up, the news that's been really breaking and developing all throughout the day is about the owner of the Washington Redskins, that is Daniel Snyder. They are going to be no longer named the Washington Redskins, which we found out in the last few days, so I guess we're just going to be calling them the Washington Football Team until we know what their name is. But we have now found out that Daniel Snyder has been involved in all sorts of misconduct, and misconduct is probably taking it very lightly. 15 women who worked for the Washington NFL team alleged sexual harassment by former scouts and members of owner Dan Snyder's inner circle, the Washington Post reported on Thursday. So we are going to start finding out, I'm sure, a lot more about this story. And what makes this story interesting is because of the timing of it, right? This is all coming on the immediate heels of the decision to change the name from Redskins, which is something that Daniel Snyder said he was never going to do. And then there were some people that were saying he seemed to really change his tune quickly, because it was not even long ago where he was saying we're never going to change, never going to change, never going to change, and then boom. There were a couple sponsors that started to threaten pulling out. Was the reasons why something to do with this? Did some of them know this was happening? And then he, tries to change the name, and maybe that is the story instead of this being a story, but that's not going to happen. This is going to absolutely be a story, and we will see soon even more and more as this story unfolds. And then J.J. Watt today tweeted out, this is the other part of the not great news for the NFL. I co-host the Mike Abadier show. Mike Abadier, my buddy, is a sports agent, and he's an agent for a lot of players in the NFL, and he was saying things similar like this. There is not a whole lot of direction. They're not really giving the players and a lot of folks involved with the league ideas, or they're not preparing them very well. So listen, this is what J.J. Watt was saying. Here's what we know and what we don't know. He said, in the interest of having everyone on the same page and in terms of what we know and don't know, here are a few things I've learned being on 4 NFLPA calls in the last 2 weeks with hundreds of other players. Keep in mind, our rookies are scheduled to report in 48 hours. J.J. Watt tweeted this out Thursday at 11:10 a.m. We want to play. We want to be as safe as possible. We have not received a single valid IDER plan, infectious disease emergency response, from any team or the league. We don't know if there are preseason games or not. We don't know if there will be daily testing, semi-daily testing, etc. We don't know how a potential positive COVID test would affect different contracts, roster spots, etc. Nothing has been agreed upon regarding what training camp will actually look like and how the ramp-up period will work. We want to play. Now keep in mind, you look at the NBA, who has the bubble, they've had plans laid out. Baseball ramped up quickly, but they had at least had some plans laid out for the steps, the process. We're going to do this on this date, this on this date, this on this date. And NFL players are saying that they're not getting any of that. And we move over to baseball, and we're only a week away. Less than 1 week away. Thursday night will be the first baseball games. If you've been following your team, they've been having inter-squad scrimmage games, and a lot of them are streaming them on social media or maybe even on their networks, and been watching some of the Dodger games, and they've been doing some of the piped-in sound, and they've been having the music and the organ. And in baseball, I got to be honest, if you have that sound with the commentators, there's some piped-in sound for big plays here and there, you're not noticing the crowd on a play-to-play, pitch-to-pitch basis as much as you would in other sports. Like you would in a football, you notice the crowd on every play. Basketball, you notice them on big plays. A little more than baseball even. Baseball, you just don't notice them. So I don't mind the piped-in sound. It's better than nothing. Just 1 week, less than 1 week away for baseball. Fingers crossed. NBA. Eric Bledsoe for the Bucks test positive. Now we're getting closer and closer to games, so a lot of these players that are testing positive, if they have to go through quarantine and then ramp back up, practice and getting back into some sort of shape, they may be behind. And they could start to affect some of these teams, like Zion, who had to leave the bubble. And prior to leaving the bubble, Zion was having some cramps and had to be pulled out of practice a little bit. This is what a lot of players were worried about. You go from, even if you're training hard on your own, there's nothing like getting back to playing in contact situations or in full live scrimmage type situations or in practice against other high level, high quality, world class players. Kemba Walker for the Celtics, he's still a little frustrated because he's had some lingering knee issues. So as the Celtics get ready and they're ramping back up, a not 100% Kemba really hurts their chances to make a deep run in the playoffs or to upset maybe a Bucks team or perhaps even a Toronto team. We'll continue to pass along any NBA news, monitor any players that are testing positive, that are perhaps getting injured or anything in the ramp up, and then hopefully soon enough we'll get to the point where in baseball and in basketball we're just going to be previewing and recapping games. Oh, that'd be so nice again to have some actual live sports to be able to discuss. It's been a lot of horse racing and been very nice that horse racing has still continued on, but unfortunately this weekend there's no Del Mar. They had to cancel because a lot of the jockeys tested positive for coronavirus. So baseball, basketball, back on the way. Sports fans, there is a new DFS app for prop bets. It's called Thrive Fantasy. Go download the app right now, Thrive Fantasy. Remember the promo code GINO, G-I-N-O. That's the promo code right now for all of the sponsors that we have. So Thrive Fantasy, DFS app for prop bets. They have changed the drafting process. So you build your lineup now around a list of prop bets. For each contest, you're going to be choosing 10 of the prop bets, and then you pick a couple in case of emergency picks. Each prop has an over or under point value assigned to it. Example, will Tom Brady throw for over or under 250 yards? If he goes over, you'll get 100 points. If he goes under, you get 80 points. That's how you pick your props, and that's how you select your lineup. They have contests where you can play in head-to-head competitions, you can play in small groups, or contests where you're playing for hundreds and thousands of dollars in prizes. You can get involved in their free rolls. They have contests sometimes for $2, $5, and then all the way up to $20, $50, $100 to get involved in. Remember the promo code GINO. When you deposit $10, you'll get an instant $10 bonus. Go give it a try. It's a new DFS app. If you like daily fantasy, if you tried a bunch of different sites, this one just has a different tweak to it. Give it a try. Thrive Fantasy, promo code GINO will get you an instant $10 bonus. So if you just deposit deposit 10, you'll get $20 right there. You can mess around, try a couple different contests, see if you like it. Thrive Fantasy, promo code GINO. Pleasanton Friday horse racing. Let's start over at Saratoga, and we will go to get your past performances out Friday, July the 17th. We're going to go to race number 1, and there's the pick 5 that starts in race number 1, so we'll play a couple different pick 5 tickets, and I'm going to go to the 4 in here to start. Legit, who's going to be trying the turf for the first time, does own a winning turf sib. They're going to be going a mile and 3/8 in here, and there is no speed signed on paper. I think Legit has an opportunity to steal it. I mean, you really have to look through this field to kind of wonder who's going to get to the lead, and I think whoever does is going to have a major advantage on the field. The other horses I'm looking at, pretty logical. The 6 Value Engineering. The 2 is going to be a wild card, mainly because he hasn't raced since May of 2019, but he may end up just close in a race that doesn't have speed, and maybe he's a little bit fresh. Trying to pick out who's going to be on the lead is difficult in this race, so we'll use the 2, the 4, and the 6. I have this race 4, 6, 2 as my selections in order, race number 1. We move to the second race, and I'm going to go to the 10 horse in here, Brunate. He was close up early on last time out, and he actually took back, and then he loomed up. He was within about a length at the top of the lane, and he just tired then. Now he's going to go third start off the layoff. He has more speed than it seems like he has on paper, and there is not much in here. He seems like he is rounding into a good one more step forward. He's in good form. He's really rounding into a consistent runner at this level. So just a small step forward, he's going to be right there. The 10, Brunate. If we can get anything around 7-2, I think we make a win wager on him. I'm going to use also the 6, Lorenzen, and the 7, Friday Beers in the Rolling Exotics. The 1, Don's Early Light, has burned a lot of money. I'm okay taking a swing against the 1 in here. So with the 6, 7, and the 10, we have him in the order of 10, 6, and 7. We'll move to race number 3 here. We'll go too deep in this one. The 1, Universal Payday, he's never run a bad race. He should save all the ground from the inside. He's coming in from Penn, but he faced First Level Allowance Company over there. He was part of a 3-horse battle in between, and he held on best of that group. I think he'll either be more aggressive and go, or take back and sit from the inside. And when you look towards the outside, maybe Blood Moon, maybe Fried Rice King, if they're a little quicker than Universal Payday, then he saves the ground from the inside. Gaffleon's been riding very, very well, and I like him on a horse like this who has some tactical speed but can sit. He seems to make the right decision a lot with horses like this on when to go. Blinkers on for the 4. The Rock says, finally, The Rock has come back to Saratoga. 3-5 on the morning line off the claim for Diodoro. He's gonna be tough, and here's the 1 to beat. That's why I'm hoping the 1 just can sit a nice trip, save all the ground, and if he's good enough, he'll have every opportunity. We move to race number 4. 3 deep in here. The 3 is going to be my top selection, Persian Queen. Third off the long layoff. You're going to get a little cutback from 7 furlongs after 2 starts at 7 furlongs. You drop in class. You're back to a barn where you won. You're back to a track where you've won. I think Persian Queen is worth using in your exotics here. Make a win wager if you can get around 6-1 or so. The 2 leave you with a smile is the 1 to beat. The 5 will be the other one I use in some exotics. I think Stunning Munnings should be in the mix throughout. Might be the quickest and is super consistent. Generally shows up with a really nice effort. I just don't know if she's a win machine. She might be better suited for some of the minor awards. But we'll use her on one of the pick 5s. Race number 5, I'm going to go with the Deuce to start things out. Voliero, who he closed well in between horses. He had a fine start, but he had to take back in order to not get hooked wide. And then he was a little bit outrun. Not every horse can go, take back, and then go immediately again. They're not all so push button. Sometimes they take a little bit to get relaxed and then to get going again. And that's really what seemed to happen with Voliero. He was about 15 lengths off at one point. And I really thought he had a nice effort for second. He's going to go 3rd start of the year, 3rd off the bench. He's ready for his best career effort in here. The 7, Scuttlebuzz, no doubt the 1 to beat. Any improvement off that last effort should win, but he's got to stretch out from 6 to a mile and a 16th and prove that he can go long. His 3 races so far have all been sprinting. The other one I would look at would be the 4. This is a barn who's very good with horses they debut going long. The dam of this one was 6 for 30, and a multiple stakes winner earned $197,000. So there's a little pedigree there for the number 4. Open lengths. 2, 7, 4 in race number 5. In race number 6, I'd use the 4, the 7, and the 8. So this is the start of a late pick 5 here. I'll give you the pick 5 tickets at the very end. In race number 6, the 4 Giant Shoes was a debut winner, then tried Stakes Company in the slop. You can excuse that effort. Came back and was a fine third in a similar spot, and an effort like that would make him a major contender against this group. Last time out, tried the turf. I think you can put a line right through it. At least he got a race under his belt. He got some of the fitness and some of the rust knocked off. You got Giant Shoes here as the top selection. We'll use with the 7 Vintage Hollywood. We'll use along with the 8 Big Thicket, who's probably the one to beat, but is going to be a short price. 4, 7, 8 in race number 6. De La Rose is race number 7, and as many of these turf races are, you're going to get a bunch of Chad Browns in here. He's going to be very live with Catch a Bid, with Noor Sahara, and you're going to get the other Brown Viadera, and then you're going to also get Blowout to the outside. So you get Browns all over. Chad Browns all over in these turf races. I do think the 3 Passing Out has a major shot to upset them, and I think the 4 Clara Peters would be another one that would. So Passing Out was behind Rushing Fall, who came back to win the Grade 1 Jenny Wiley. Passing Out was 5th of 5, chasing Rushing Fall, who ended up winning that race on the front end. Stayed inside, ended up getting up for 3rd. I thought Passing Out ran really well that day and was just in a little bit tough. This is a better spot. She's a very, very top-tier contender in here. The 4 Clara Peters got the win at Belmont last time out. She seems on the upswing. The 1 Catch a Bid with the inside draw, the ability to show a little bit of speed, kind of tactical speed. I think I like best of the Chad Brown runners. So I would be 3, 4, 1 in here. If you're going to go a little deeper, I would use the 6 and the 2 on other tickets, but 3, 4, 1. I might play one ticket where I single the 3, Passing Out. Let's go to race number 8. Optional 62 non-2s, 5.5 furlongs. The 4 Lost Ticket, lightly raced, can improve after just that 1 turf sprint. The 3 Lady Lawyer is no doubt the one to beat. Those would be the only 2 I use in exotics in race number 8. In the 9th race, I would go 10, 5, and 6, Indian Pride, no doubt the one to beat, going to take a ton of money. The 6 is a little bit of a price to use. Win a mile last time out. It actually ran really well. Now you get the slight turnback, second time in the U.S. for this, Group 1 winning filly over in Argentina. The 10 will be the top selection, though. Please Flatter Me. Look at who this filly has run into and been unlucky. She hooked Guarana last time out. She hooked Kofivi twice last year. She's drawn well towards the outside because she has some speed, but she can also sit off a little bit, and she's proven she can pass horses. I think that could be key in here with the draw. If she doesn't get as caught up early on with a horse like Indian Pride, who's really quick, and maybe she can sit off from the outside. Indian Pride probably blamed. And if Please Flatter Me can work out that 3rd trip, that's where I think she could be really worth playing and including in your exotics. Closing things out, we'll use the 3 Shared Success, the 11 True Grace, and the 1 KK Ichikawa. All pretty logical horses here. Don't really have to sell you on why I'm using any of them. You can, I think, understand. So let's go to the tickets, and I'm gonna look at playing in race number 1. I'll play a pick 5. I always play a couple different ones, and I'll look at the scratches, the changes, and everything, but there'll be something like 4-6 with 6-7-10 with 1-4 with 2-3-5 with 2-4-7. Another one will be 2-4-6 with 6-7-10 with 1-4 with 2-3 with 2-4-7. And then in the 6th race, play one that's 4-7-8 with 1-2-3-4-6 with 3-4 with 5-10 with 1-3-6. And then another pick 5 that goes 4-7-8 with 3 singled with 3-4 with 5-6-10 with 1-3-11. That is Friday over at Saratoga. One of the longtime sponsors of That's What G Said, Sarah Candle Company. SarahCandles.com, CERA Candles.com. When you use that promo code GINO, it'll get you 10% off your purchase. These are all natural soy wax candles. If you're someone who likes to burn candles, if you know your wife, your husband, your daughter, your son, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your friends, your family, anyone that you know out there that likes candles, give these a try. You buy one of these as a gift for them. They have 25 different scents. They are locally sourced. I know the company that makes them personally, and they just want to make a perfect candle that's better for you with these all-natural soy wax with the lead-free cotton wicks. Over 25 scents to choose from, available in 3 different sizes. And they have instructions and details on how to keep your candle clean and ensure the perfect burn. Because remember, you're burning a candle around, so you want to trim the wick. You want to make sure that you don't go too low with the candle. And they'll give you all the instructions on how to be safe and to get the perfect burn with your candles. SarahCandles.com, CERA Candles.com. Use that promo code GINO. Get you 10% off your purchase. Friday racing up at Pleasanton. We're going to talk about the late pick 5 up at Pleasanton. Get your past performances out. No Del Mar, they canceled, so we'll have some Pleasanton to discuss. We'll have a Monmouth Friday stable duel lineup also, and then we'll talk some Monmouth, Saratoga, and Pleasanton for Saturday. So third race, I'm going to go play a pick 5, and I'm going to begin. It's a maiden 12-5. It's 5 furlongs, and I don't really love the race, to be honest. I think it's a little bit difficult, so I'm going to use the lightly raced horses that I feel like they have upside. If you are spending a little more and you want to go all in this race, I would not talk you off doing it, but I do think the 1 Garden in the Sky, the 4 Ms. Cappadocia, the 5 Electric Elizabeth, and the 6 Miss MGD, I do think they probably would get you covered with those 4 in there, but if you want to go all 6, I would not talk you off doing that. In race number 4, I'm going to use the 3, 4, and 5. Struzel on the drop-in class. Should be tough. Dairy Kid has some dirt form. Another one that's taking a slight drop-in class here. And the 5 Charming Lass. There is not a ton of speed in here. Maybe we get the 1 Mucho Runner going. But I would not be shocked if Charming Lass is right on the lead or sitting very close to it. Just won at Pleasanton. A lot of times we see these horses that take a while to get their first victory, and they come right back and win. Make sure to use the 5 Charming Lass in all your exotics in that 4th race at Pleasanton. In race number 5, we'll be 3 deep in here. Jammer's Justice, the 4, should get a nice trip because the 1, Buen Amigo, will probably try to show some speed from down inside. The 2, Pegasus Sprint, shouldn't be too far out of it. The 3, Galaxy Master, is probably the quickest one in here. I don't think the 5 is going to be too far out of it, and it wouldn't be shocking to see the 8 try to get involved. So we could see combinations of a few different horses pushing the pace in here. That could set up nicely for Jammer's Justice, who can sit just off. So I'll use the 4. I will use the 1, Buen Amigo, who can also sit and should be able to save ground inside. I think the horse that might be the quickest of all of them, if anybody has the chance to sneak away, it could be the 3, Galaxy Master. So we'll use the 4, 1, 3 in race number 5 there at Pleasanton. The 6th race, I'm just going to single the 3 here, Illapani, who should sit really nicely. Just broke the maiden last time out. And again, you look at the way this race should shape up on paper. The 1's going to go from the inside. The 4, Awesome Alessandra, is also going to be flashing some speed. The 5, Golden Delight's going to be flashing some speed. The 6, Zelaya is going to be flashing some speed. I think the 3 gets a great trip, sitting just off of them. A couple good efforts here at Pleasanton. So to me, the 3 is the one to beat. I'll just single Illapani there in race number 6. And then to close things out, I will use 3 horses. The 1, We Say No. The 6, Go Vida Girl. And then the first-time starter of the 7, Brazen by the Bay. So a couple logicals, and then a price of a firster there to close it out. A pick 5 that would look something like this: 1, 4, 5, 6 with 3, 4, 5 with 1, 3, 4 with the 3 with the 1, 6, 7. That's over at Pleasanton on Friday. One of the sponsors of That's What G Said podcast is Cindy Carava, full-service realtor, and I am here over in Glendora at Coldwell Banker with Cindy Carava. Cindy, how was 2019 for you? Tell us a little bit about what kind of stuff you were working on.
Hi, Gino. Thanks for having me. 2019 was just really great. I had a great year selling homes all the way from Altadena, Arcadia, Monrovia, out to Upland and Ontario just recently. The market has been really good. We're looking forward to 2020 with an increase in home prices about 5.8% this year, opposed to last year where it was a little softer. We saw more like homes averaging about 3.5% in increase in value. It's also looking great for buyers. The interest rates right now are going to be staying under 4%. So if you've been on the fence about thinking about buying a home, now is the time to do so with interest rates still staying low.
And you offer more services than just the buying, selling, and leasing homes. Tell us about some of the other services that you offer and what a full service realtor really is.
So you're right, Gino. Besides me being a full-service realtor of finding properties for my clients to buy or selling their homes or finding rentals for them, I also have a plethora of resources like handyman, contractors, electricians, plumbers. I even, if like I said, if you're thinking about getting a home loan, I actually work with 2 great lenders that I can recommend to anybody.
And you're all over the internet, social media, websites. Let us know some of the places where we can find you. I know I've seen some reviews on Yelp and on Zillow. Everyone always has positive things to say. Everybody hears me raving about you all the time. But where can everyone else find out information about you or contact?
Thank you, Gino. Yeah, I am on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And you can contact me on my website, which is www.cindycarava.com, or my email, which is cindyc.realtor@gmail.com, or feel free to call or text me on my cell phone, which is 626-394-6400.
Cindy is awesome. She's one of the kindest and most genuine people I've ever met. I promise you, you will enjoy every minute you interact with her. So thank you very much, Cindy. Appreciate all of your support from That's What G Said podcast.
Thank you, Gino. Have a great day, everyone.
Friday Stable Duel, 2 different racetracks where you can enter in a Stable Duel contest. You can enter over at Monmouth Park for a $10 entry fee, and then they also have the Saturday contest that we're going to be talking about just a little later on. And then you can also enter at Ellis Park. They're jumping into the mix for just $5. You can enter the Ellis Park Stable Duel contest. I'm going to talk about the Monmouth Park one on here. That's where I'm going to build my lineup for. So Friday at Monmouth Park, they have a contest, and there are only 6 races. So in your Stable Duel lineups, you're going to need to double up in a couple races. I know some of you already do that. I try to preach not doing that because we got to remember, it's not about what we like, right? Some races you don't like, so you probably, I don't like anyone in this race as much. I don't want to pick a horse in here. I'll just pick 2 horses in the other race. You eliminate opportunity for yourself. When you do that, you automatically are giving yourself less chance than the person next to you if they're playing where they go 1 horse in each race or they go 10 all the way down. Now, again, this is going to be a situation where there's only 6, so this is not what I'm talking about. But just in mind, I like to let you know all the time, always try to play when you're playing in these Stable Duel contests 1 horse per race. You have to give yourself the chance to get maximum points. There are races where you don't like a horse sometimes and you put them in and they win. Or you don't love a horse and they win, but because of their value and their opportunity, you include them. Okay, let's get to Monmouth for Friday. In race number 1, I'm going to use 2... there are 2 different horses that I would look to. The 7 would cost you $5,000, and that's Wendigo, who is now going to stretch out. And after a couple of sprints, I think the stretch out is going to be very nice for Wendigo. The 4 dialed in gold will cost you $3,000. This is one that's exiting some live races, so I would go the 7 at $5,000 or the 4 at $3,000 as horses to use in race number 1. In the second race, the 2 Carrot at $750. So look at some of the running lines. You see Tiger Blood, who was just in against Grade 2 Company the other day. You see the Sharp Long Blonde. This one was a fine third last time out, needed the race. Will only cost you $750. The number 5 will also be one that I use in some lineups. That is Duncastle, who would cost you $6,500. And I think they're just searching for what level they fit at over at Monmouth right now. In race number 3, I would look to Senavi, who would cost you $7,000. Really fits the conditions of this race nicely. And then the 9 Brimstone would cost you $6,000. This one was a proven fit at the level last time out. In the 4th race, couple that I would look to. Oh, I just talked about Saved by the Bell, huh? What about the 2? Saved by the Bell, the number 3. First-time turf with some nice turf influence in the pedigree. And that one's only going to cost you $3,000. The number 1 New York Rockstar for $5,000 can sit from the inside. And then Real Doozy for $7,500 if you want to spend up a little bit. Exits a really live race with 3 next out winners. In race number 5, I'm looking to the 9 Chubb on to Run, $5,000. This is a pace factor who should be in the mix throughout. The number 4 at $9,000 looks like the one to beat if you want to spend up. And then in the 6th race, the number 4 My Sweet Wife would cost you $5,000. Was part of a group of 6 that all wanted the lead. This one ended up taking back a little bit, was 4th on the inside, then gets caught in between horses, makes a 4-wide bid at the top of the lane, was in contention till late in the stretch. The number 10 Gaelic Tales at $6,000, just missed at Delaware last time out, so it would be the 4 for me, My Sweet Wife, and the 10 Gaelic Tales there in the 6th race. Those would be some of the horses I look to build my lineup around in the Monmouth Friday Stable Duel Contest. Make sure to get involved over at Monmouth, over at Ellis Park, and those Stable Duel contests. On the page from Friday to Saturday, we will start with Saratoga for Saturday. Get those past performances out for July the 18th. We'll start at race number 1 with the 6 Repo Rocks. Just a horse to make sure to include, who's trading well and whose dam has produced 4 winners of 5. I just think this one fits nicely, and the barn does pretty well with the 2-year-old. So the 6, make sure to include, but not necessarily a horse where we're going to be able to bet to win. Gotta be honest, I haven't really been in love with the first few Saratoga cards. I haven't felt like there were as many of those big price opportunities that I at least look for when I'm handicapping Saratoga. In race number 2, I would use I like the 5 a little bit here. Kill Ronin, who's going to go second off the bench and finally puts 2 starts together. And when I say second off the bench, he hadn't raced from October of 2018 to July of 2020, and he actually ran pretty well last time out. He was battling for the lead. He takes back a little bit, and he's 3 lengths off chasing. He moved up to briefly take the lead in early stretch before tiring. I thought it was a race that he's going to take a lot out of. So make sure to use Kill Ronin in all of your exotics, the number 5, along with the 1, 4, and 7. So I would be 5, 1, 4, 7 in race number 2. In race number 3, it's the 7 Decorated Invader. I've always been a fan of Moon Over Miami. He put it all together last time out. Nice win, going 1 1/8 on the grass, but I just don't think anyone in here is quite good enough to compete with Decorated Invader when he shows up with the top effort. In the 4th, the horse I'll mention is Archu My Baby, who I think he can sit she can sit the trip that will work out really, really well in here, and maybe have an opportunity to beat the couple inside horses. The 1 Baby Boss, the 2 Lady by Choice, I'd imagine are going to be tough in here. So yeah, let's use the 5 with the 1 and the 2 Archu My Baby on top. And then in race number 5, Maddie's Marauder here is one that I like. He's going to be trying the turf for the second time now, and last out he moved in between horses up to 5th. He was 3 off, and then he makes an early 3-wide move. He was up to within about a half of a length at the top of the lane. He tried hard all the way. That was his first start since December, so he really needed the race, and he should be a lot more fit with that one under his belt. He'll stretch out from 7 to a mile here. That's the 5 Maddie's Marauder. Make sure to use him in all of your exotics. You can get around just 4 to 1 or so. We'll make a win wager. We'll use along with the 6 and the 9 in exotics. Let's move to race number 7, and let's talk about a late pick 5 that we're going to play here. The 1 Yaupon, who's going to send hard from the inside. I think you have to include the 5 Cucina, who's going to come back to the dirt, who was wide last time out on the grass and has run well on the dirt in the first few starts of his career. Give him an opportunity bouncing back when he gets to the main. 1 and 5 to kick off the late pick 5. In race number 8, I'll be sort of Captain Obvious with the 3 Creative Style, who's just in really nice form right now, and he feels like one who can just run all day long, and will also use the 9 Hammerin' Ammer, who went gate to wire last time out, but he's not a horse who needs the lead, and with the outside draw, should have some options, can sit off. I think the horse to beat in here, so we'll use the 3, we'll use the 9 in race number 8, leg 2 of the pick 5 sequence. Race number 9 will be 3 deep in here with the 6, 7, and 8. Set Piece, obvious top contender off the win last time out. Digital Age was a runner-up and was your beaten favorite and comes out of some strong races prior to that. The one I'd also give a look to, who might be able to spice things up at a price, is Midnight Tea Time, is another one who's just coming out of some good races. I think you could give him the race last time out and say he needed it, and it wasn't a bad effort. Now he should be a little sharper in here. The 2 races back in January and February over at Fairgrounds, those races have come back very, very live. Horses coming out of those races have continued to come back and run really, really well. So let's go 6, 7, 8 in race number 9 at Saratoga in that late pick 5. We get to the CCA Oaks, the Grade 1 Coaching Club American Oaks. Mile and an eighth is race number 10 for the 3-year-old fillies, and I'm going to single the 6 Paris Lights. The 1 Tonalist Shape with the blinkers on will try to go a mile and an eighth for the first time, and all these fillies are going to try to go a mile and an eighth for the first time. I do think that the outside filly, Paris Lights, is just on the upswing. And looking at the way this race is going to shape up from a betting standpoint, I'd imagine those 2 take the bulk of the action. And I'm going to go with Paris Lights. Her debut sprinting, she hooked the sloppy track at Gulfstream Park, and she was a fine 3rd. Stretches out to a mile and a 16th on May the 31st, settled 3rd on the inside, saving ground, and just an awesome win. Last time out, very, very similar. I think with the outside draw, she'll be sitting close. She doesn't need the lead in any way, shape, or form, and she doesn't feel like a horse that distance is going to be any problem for, based on her breeding. Baffert sends a Crystal Ball out, who I think what Crystal Ball will do in here is probably get the lead, or at least make things a little difficult for Tonalist Shape down on the inside with the blinkers on, if their plan was to try to get aggressive and go. Velvet Crush has also got a little speed in here, and Paris Lights should sit really nicely from the outside. We're going to single the 6 Paris Lights in that late pick 5 at Belmont Park, and then what that enables us to do is just go all in the last. You start looking at the last, and you start building cases. American Piper, Quick Return, Midnight Whiskey, Papa Luke, Kaz's Beach, and now all of a sudden, then Farragut, Top of the Mint. Now you're going, okay, well, I just got to go all in here because I'm already going super deep as it is. So we'll play a pick 5 that's 1-5 with 3-9 with 6-7-8. Single the 6 with all. 1-5 with 3-9 with 6-7-8 with 6 with all. That's at Saratoga on Saturday. Horse racing fans, make sure to check out oldsmokeclothing.com. T-shirts, polos, hoodies, long sleeves, zip-ups, hats with horse names, with the big races, with slogans. You can show the horse racing fan in you, and if you use the promo code GINO, you'll get no shipping. oldsmokeclothing.com. Show the horse racing fan in you. They can do customs for you there. Also, don't forget promo code GINO for no shipping cost. Let's get to Monmouth Park for Saturday. They got a huge card on Saturday with the Haskell, with the United Nations, with a ton of stakes races. So let's go to the late pick 5 first, and then we'll go back and go through our stable duel lineup. So actually, we'll go to race number 9. I think Valedictorian is worth using if you can get around 5-1. She was just outrun last time out behind Newspaper of Record, who can do that to other fillies and mares. She has a lot more speed than she was able to show. She's back to Monmouth, where she's done really well in some of her best ever work. And I think she either will get the lead or just sit really close and save all the ground from the inside. So make sure to play the 1 Valedictorian. If you get around 5-1, use her in any of your exotics that you're playing there. I'm going to go to race number 10 and play the late pick 5 at Monmouth. And in race number 10, I will be looking at the 1. I'm going to spread out a little bit. The 1 Global Campaign with the blinkers off. The 2 Monongalia I'll be using. The 6 horse Core Beliefs, who was a good effort coming off the bench last time out for the new connections. And look at some of the horses who he was behind last year. Some pretty nice ones. The 8, 9, and 10 will also be on my ticket. Just Whistle, who I actually thought had a little bit of a shot going into the Suburban, and that was just a group that was too tough. Ball Harbor's another one. Look at the last couple races he comes out of behind Maximum Security and Tom's D. Tot. And then Bodie Express with the speed to the outside. He's going to sit close. Is the mile and an eighth is really what he wants? I don't know, but he should be in the mix throughout, and obviously I don't love this race as I'm spreading out, so I'll go 1, 2, 6, 8, 9, 10. In the United Nations, I almost singled Aquaphobia, who I just think is in good form and comes out of a good Wise Dan, and I don't really love anyone else in here that much. I'll throw the 9 in, Perrette, on a few tickets just because he's in good form right now. He doesn't need the lead. He showed it last time out, that speed, but he's just a sharp horse in a race where I'm not really a big fan of Arklow wheeling back quickly. Standard deviation, yeah, sure, he could. Current, yeah, sure, he could. I just prefer Aquaphobia in here. I think he's put together a string of pretty good races and against some of the better fields that most of these have faced. And yeah, Arklow, when he's at his best, he's the one to beat. I just don't love that quick wheel back. And he's a 6-year-old. Maybe he's not able to string races together as well. And this is going to be his third race in just over a month. So let's use a couple, the 5 and the 9, Aquaphobia and Perrette. We'll go 1, 2, and 7 using the logicals in the Haskell, mainly because I'm going to single at the back end of the ticket. So 7, 1, and 2, and because we'll probably be using some sort of middle type price horses in the United Nations. I think those are the 3. For me, it's New York Traffic I have on top, then Dr. Post and Authentic. I can't really see anyone else in here, so I think you can probably get through this race using those 3. This is not something I normally do, just use the 3 logical horses all in one race, but the way this ticket is built, there are some other prices and there are some other races where we're not just going to be going chalk. So race number 13, we'll use the 4, Smart Remark. We'll use the 11, American Sailor, who I'm actually going to make my top selection. I think he's going to be able to maybe steal this race from the outside. And then the 6, Archie Dust. I'll take a wait-and-see approach on Shecky Sabaz. We'll go 11, 4, 6 in race number 13, and then we'll single She's a Julie, who I just think is the class of the field in race number 14. And it would be Royal Flag, the other one I was going to use, and I just don't like doing that when you're going to be using the 2 top choices. You're better off picking one and singling. I think from the inside, she'll be able to save all the ground if she wants to go or she wants to sit, and she's just the no-doubt class of the field, this multiple grade 1 winner, She's a Julie. So pick 5, something like 1, 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, with 5, 9, with 1, 2, 7, with 4, 6, 11, single to 1, She's a Julie on the back end. So let's talk stable duel Saturday, and let's talk about your Monmouth Park lineup. I'm gonna focus in on Monmouth Park with their big races, and now keep in mind with more than 10 races now, you can really pick and choose which horses you like the most and which races you want to spend on, and you can skip some of the races that you don't have as strong of an opinion on. So for me, my first play at Monmouth in our stable duel contest is going to come in race number 3, and I'm going to go to the 5 in here, My Sister's Keeper, who, again, overall just really consistent, always seems to pick up checks. And now you're going to take a drop in class. My Sister's Keeper will get to the grass after taking a couple shots on the dirt, and has been just as consistent on the grass, actually even better on the turf too. So My Sister's Keeper will be using, and My Sister's Keeper will cost you 7,000. In race number 2, I'm okay with Free Coffee at 3,000 also, so I'd be okay with using either one of those 2, Free Coffee in the second at 3,000, or in race number 3, My Sister's Keeper at 7,000. In race number 4, I would give a look to the 2 in here, Waller Cito. He's going to be stretching back out from 6 furlongs to a mile, and I think his mile race going on the turf was his lone victory. He's going to be quick. He's going to be showing speed in here, and he should be able to hang around and pick up some points for you. That's the number 2, Waller Cito, and that's going to cost you 6,000. Others that we look through as we continue through the Monmouth card. In the 5th race, I would give a look to the number 3, Scatnap for 7,000. who loves to win races, comes out of a very live, strong race at Gulfstream Park on June the 7th. So the number 3, Scatnap at 7,000, I would spend up for in race number 5. In race number 9, I'm looking to Valedictorian from the inside. I think Valedictorian only going to cost you 3,000. If you want to spend up a little more, Feel Glorious at 5,000, I'm fine with. Varenka at 5,000, I'm fine with. But I think from the inside, Valedictorian is going to give you a good run for your money and a much improved effort on this day. In the 10th race, again, that's one you can go in a bunch of different directions. I would probably lean towards Just Whistle at around 5,000 there. So Just Whistle, the 8, would cost you 5,000. In race number 11, I'd look to Aquaphobia at 6,500. The other one I mentioned in here was Perrette, who is actually cheaper than that, only 5,000. But Aquaphobia will be one that I'll be building a lot of lineups around here. In the Haskell, I'm fine with New York Traffic at 7,500, the cheapest of the big 3 in there that you figure are going to take all the money and they're going to be super prominent and they're going to be live. The 13th race, Smart Remark is super consistent, not a win machine by any means, but in a contest like this where you need to pick up points, I think it's a really good spot for Smart Remark at 3,000. And then in the end, for me, I'll spend up on She's a Julie to close things out. I think she's very well spotted. Royal Flag would be obviously the other one, and I just think I would prefer She's a Julie of those two. So, a couple to look at in your stable duel contest for Saturday at Monmouth. Let's finish up Saturday with some Pleasanton, and let's hit on that Pleasanton pick 5. It starts in race number 5. I'm going to go 3 deep in here. We'll use the 2, Danger's my middle name, Logical, Speedy, Contender. The 5 will also be on the tickets, Trumpum, probably the one that they'll have to beat. And then Known should sit a really nice trip from the outside there. So 2, 5, and 6. We will go 2 deep in race number 6. The 1, Regal Lady, will try to go back-to-back, and we'll try to sit a nice trip from the inside. I do think you want the 5 on your tickets. This is a horse who I played last time out, Jupiter S, who was facing tougher, and is just trying to figure out where she best fits. And it was one of those efforts where I like a horse in that spot, and it's too bad to believe. I'm going to use him back next time, especially when you'll get a decent price here on Jupiter S, and you might be able to beat a couple of the shorter-priced favorites in here. In race number 7, we'll go 2 deep with the 1 and the 8. The 8 horse, the Latte Factor, this is a filly who faced the boys and who faced Open Company like Pleasanton last time out. So she'll kind of get a double drop in here. She'll be facing Cowbreds and she'll be facing fillies after facing Open Company and the boys. And the 1, Maggie's Magic, also faced Open Companies at Golden Gate in her debut. She flashed a little speed. So we'll go 1 and 8 there. In race number 8, 3 deep, the 3, the 5, and the 6. Those will be the 3 on the ticket for us. Mother of Dragons looks like the one to catch and beat. The 5, Blue Diva, who I think on the turn back is a little bit interesting. This one could be rolling late. And then the number 6 horse will also be on the tickets. That's Biddy Duke, who is another one who should be forwardly paced. Go look at Biddy Duke, who comes out of the Angel Flight Stakes last time out. I'd imagine this one's going to take a lot more money, I think, than the morning line would suggest. But this is not an easy race here in the $50,000 Cal Governor's Handicap up at Pleasanton. We'll close out this pick 5 with 4. The 2, the 3, the 4, and the 7, going to be 4 deep to try to close this thing out with Slam Dunk Sermon, with Inquisition. Just a repeat of that last effort, sitting a trip coming from off the pace. The 4 horse, Flick Flack, also going to be on the tickets, and the 7, When Ducks Fly. 2, 3, 4, 7 to close it out. Pick 5 will go 2, 5, 6, with 1, 5, with 1, 8, with 3, 5, 6, with 2, 3, 4, 7. That is Pleasanton for Saturday. Before we finish up and get to the wrestling, the old wrestling rewatch, those of you wrestling fans, remember there is a WWE pay-per-view this weekend. It is Extreme Rules, the horror show at Extreme Rules. And a quick rundown of the matches. We'll get Apollo Crews versus MVP for the U.S. Championship. We'll get Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus in a bar fight, which is a little bit awkward, when they're playing on the real-life problems that Jeff Hardy has had and some of his demons. We're going to get Bayley versus Nikki Cross in the SmackDown's Women's Championships match. Asuka versus Sasha in the Raw Women's title match. Drew McIntyre versus Dolph in the WWE title match. Braun versus Bray in the Swamp match, which is non-title. And then the one that I'm curious about, Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins in an eye for an eye match. Yes, folks, they have said that the winner of this match will be the person who is able to remove the opponent's eye from their socket. How are they going to get out of this one? Is this going to be a schmoz? Is somebody going to come back and make a return? Is Ray's son going to turn on him and go join Seth? Are we going to get somebody early on in the show that attacks the other one and we don't even get the match? I don't know. But I do know one thing. I cannot imagine we're going to see an eyeball taken out of a socket on WWE television this weekend. We saw a pretty damn good WWE pay-per-view back in 2003 with WrestleMania 19. Darin Zoccali, Andrew Champagne, they joined me for the old wrestling rewatch. We go match by match, and this is a long one because this is a long pay-per-view where we have a lot to talk about, and we discuss everything, all the commentary, all the lead-up to the match, what happened before, what happened after, everything you could possibly imagine. If you're a wrestling fan, you will love these deep dives where we get into all of it. Enjoy the old wrestling rewatch here on That's What G Said. This week's old wrestling rewatch is actually going to take us to the most recent year that we've ever been to. This was the selection for Darin Zoccali. Many of you have missed him the last few weeks, but we will give him an excuse. Andrew, it was only a birthday and a wedding anniversary, so he's okay. He gets the excuse. Andrew Champagne back, Darin Zoccali back. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing okay, man. This week is opening day at Saratoga, so lots going on, but excited for this rewatch, excited that it's my turn to pick for next week. And this show, a really good one with a lot of historical significance behind it. You'll look at Rock Austin. This was Austin's last match. This was the ascendancy of Brock Lesnar to the main event. And it was also, for my money, the worst storyline that Triple H was ever involved in, associated with, and something that is going to be held as a big negative against him when we look at his legacy when all is said and done. There was a lot about this program and a lot about that angle that stinks to high heaven. This is why good people don't like professional wrestling. It's bad. We'll get to that when we get to it. Lots of good stuff on this show, though. WrestleMania 19.
Yeah, it's a fun watch. There's a lot going on, no question. It's one of the pay-per-views that's talked about for a lot of different reasons, quite often out there online and in the dirt sheets and everything. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on. There's a lot of good matches. There's a couple of big stars that have lackluster matches, to put it nicely, that we could talk about, lackluster storylines. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. It's a rough week for me, guys. I'm happy because I got my new golf clubs and my new irons and my new driver that I got fitted for. So that's the plus. The bad news is that we got our Peloton yesterday and I could barely stand up.
Oh boy, no. That's just a rookie mistake, man. You can't go 100%. You got to work yourself up.
Yeah. We're not the Kurt Angles and Brock Lesnar's of the world where we can just go out there and do whatever we want. But just glad to have you back, DZ. And man, this was a great show for you to pick. And you go down the list of superstars and big name people on this show. And I mean, it is unbelievable from the beginning when we start out and we've got, Rey Mysterio and Matt Hardy right off the bat. And then we get to, we talk about the women. You're talking about Trish Stratus, The Undertaker and Big Show are on there. We'll get to that. Obviously, I don't think they made the best use of them. But just as far as names, then you go Michaels, Jericho, then you go to, Vince and Hogan, obviously, Triple H, Booker, and then the last two matches where it's Austin and The Rock and Angle versus Lesnar. There are just match after match after match. Heavy hitters. There's so little down on this show, and I think from what we've talked about, guys, and then we'll get into it and start going match by match in just a second. This might be, we've had shows before, I think, that have had two really good matches where we could maybe say that two of them were 5-star or close to 4.5 or above, or matches that if you said either or were the best match on the show or your favorite, nobody would think twice. This show actually has three of those. There are three legitimately really good matches that if somebody said, oh yeah, my favorite match on that show was the Lesnar angle. My favorite match was the Rock Austin. My favorite match was Michaels Jericho. They're fine. I mean, there's no wrong answer there.
No, these are really good matches, but I'm going to bring up a little bit of historical trivia here. They made a really big blunder in promoting this show. They promoted this show with the centerpiece not being any of those three matches, being a match that arguably nobody except the two people involved ever wanted to see. They promoted Hulk Vince McMahon as one of the main matches on this show. In some cases, the biggest match on the show. And the buy rates, Gino and Darin, reflected that. This show got 560,000 buy rates, which sounds impressive. However, that was the lowest WrestleMania buy rate since WrestleMania 13, when they did 237,000 buys, the lowest buy rate in the history of WrestleMania. Hogan McMahon was not a draw. And to emphasize that, the next year's WrestleMania, WrestleMania 20, drew almost double what WrestleMania 19 did. They got a little over 1 million buys. This was a case where WWE had a lot of things they could have picked from as far as the focal point of this show. To paraphrase one of the characters in Indiana Jones, he chose poorly.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look back at what this show was, obviously, I'm not going to say that Michaels and Jericho, was going to be the big match in lights when you consider a couple of the other matches. But still, Michaels and Jericho, Rock and Austin, and then Angle and Lesnar, any three of those matches sell, in my opinion.
Yep.
And obviously, all three of them were phenomenal matches, and we'll talk about that. But how you go from those three to making Hogan Vince the big selling point of this pay-per-view just astounds me. And it shows a lack of creativity. It shows a lack of understanding, the modern era of wrestling and what people want to see, thinking that what sold in 1988 will sell in 2003. And like Andrew said, it didn't. It's a damn good show, but this is kind of like one of those cult classics, like a Scarface that didn't do well in the box office, and then after the fact, everybody realized how good of a show it was.
Yeah, that's a good.
But Darin, you're forgetting something. Hogan's involved. Hogan must pose. And I got to tell you, before we started anything, when I heard that Darin picked WrestleMania 19, I was pleasantly surprised because there's a lot of good things going on there. The Hulk Vince match, which we'll get to. And I texted this to Darin earlier in the day. This is everything Darin Zoccali hates about Hulk Hogan wrapped in a bloody red package.
And
this
even
is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy every minute of this. And I may very well just bequeath my time over to Darin so that he can dissect every single thing that was wrong with Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon, and what we're going to dub the nursing home street fight.
It was just, you see some of these guys who have been such major figures in wrestling, right? Like, we're not going to pretend that Hulk, that Vince, that Triple H aren't very, very talented, very good at what they do, and have had these massive places in history, right? Especially Hulk and Vince when it came to the storyline, who was really the father of WrestleMania. Why is WrestleMania such a big deal? But that's what they were kind of going for, and the storyline between the two of them, back and forth. We just got to see the bad sides of all of those guys on this show. Hogan, Vince, and Triple H. With what they still wanted to do and were trying to do that didn't hit. Andrew, I'm glad you teased the Triple H match. That one, to me, when we talk about the things that Hogan did through the years and the stuff that he may have done to a Bret Hart, or the guys that he may have held down that he didn't really give an opportunity because Hogan never wanted to lose and he never wanted to give the title up, or he didn't think this guy was ready, or that guy was Sting, or whoever it was through the years, right? We got to see this with Triple H here. And we even got to see it with Vince. I got to say, in a complete vacuum, Vince and Hogan work their asses off in a match, right, that nobody wants to see. There's no point of them going out there for that long and doing what they did. I respect a lot of what they did because they were busting it. They were trying to really, really have a good match. That thing should have been Hogan going out there in 5 minutes and wiping the mat with Vince trying to get a couple people to cheat for him, and that was it. But Vince has too much of an ego for that. And we saw the same ego with Hogan kind of coming back. Hogan, the reason why Hogan left at the end of 2002, and Vince and him were battling, which is kind of what led to this storyline. And we really saw it with Triple H. So let's jump right into it. We are in 2003 now. This is March 30th. We're up in Seattle, Washington. This is WrestleMania 19. And what's important about this WrestleMania is this is the first WrestleMania where they are the WWE now. Get the F out, folks. There's no more WWF. And we've teased in the intro all of the different major things that happen. So we get, Austin's last match, which many didn't know at the time, and they weren't promoting it like it was going to be Austin's last match. Many thought this was going to be Kurt Angle's last match. He was done for a little while. Rock was in Hollywood, so they're not quite sure what's going on with him. And then Brock Lesnar, at the end, we'll talk about it. Yeah, he almost paralyzes himself in the main event. So just a really insane show when you discuss all of this. And, Angle, Brock, Stone Cold, Rock, Hogan, Undertaker, Jericho, Triple H. In the intro, you get all of them talking about how important and what a big deal WrestleMania is. And I like this intro a lot. Like I don't think we ever really hit any of these packages or intros that we badmouth. And there's a lot of things about WWE that we don't like in the matches and stuff in the rewatches. I don't think we ever even say negative words about these video packages or the build-up packages. These things are just phenomenal each and every time. They do a great job with it. And then we get our first dose of a Limp Bizkit heavy show. It's just one of those days. And the only problem with this was this is Limp Bizkit about 5 years too late. Limp Bizkit was pretty popular, 5 years before this. And this is just with the Undertaker. But what's crazy, is Limp Bizkit plays the Undertaker song, and they're all in this show, and the Undertaker is such a small part of the show, which also seems weird too. We'll get to Taker shortly because he's in one of the earlier matches on the show. So JR welcomes us to WrestleMania. JR and the King. We're going to have two commentary teams here, so they're going to be calling the Raw matches. We have Michael Cole and Taz calling the SmackDown matches. So JR and the King intro. It is the 10th Mania for JR. He's come a long way since he was wearing that toga back in '93 WrestleMania. We're in Caesar's Palace, and Michael Cole, Taz, they get the baton. And there's one thing. A massive entranceway. So we have long entrances. It takes everybody a long time to walk to the ring. It is just a huge, huge stadium. This is just like the start of that. I guess when they're redoing this, right? They went for a while where they weren't really in those big stadiums like they did, for WrestleMania 3 and then getting at WrestleMania 6. But this is kind of, it feels like the beginning again when they go back to the big stadiums. Isn't that kind of sort of right on that?
Yeah, the time frame on that is about right. The next year they went back to MSG, but that was the 20th WrestleMania, and you understood why they did that. But this was around the time that they experimented with going back to bigger venues, and it's a good move that they did. I thought Safeco Field worked great for this. Yeah. There were a couple of really cool little spots that we'll get to, specifically the pyro that HBK came out to. That was really cool.
Okay. We get right into. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Again, I was going to say, it's kind of funny, and I wonder if the buy rate had something to do with it. So, yeah, you kind of feel like this is the show that starts it back up again. But believe it or not, the next three WrestleManias are actually all still in small arenas.
Yeah.
20 is in the Garden, which obviously I'm not calling that a small arena from that standpoint, but it's an arena. 21 is in the Staples Center, which was brand new at the time, and 22, believe it or not, is in the Allstate Arena, which is the old Rosemont Horizon.
Yeah.
So the next 3 years, they kind of go back to the arena before they finally go to Ford Field and then the Orange Bowl and kick it off. But you wonder if the buy rate had something to do with it. Maybe they didn't have enough money. Maybe they said it's not worth the investment to go big until maybe the next 3 years things pick back up again.
That's a really good point.
Because these big stadium shows, sometimes they don't get sometimes all the reactions that they like. Sometimes it just doesn't fill or it doesn't play as well on TV as they want. So, yeah, that they can't control the environment as well That's a good point, DZ. But I'll tell you, if they were ever going to do a big show, and this was one, this is just one that's shocking that didn't get more love. And we get things started right away. What makes a show really good to me is, like I said, the multiple good matches, or 2, 3, or 4 matches that you can say could be the best match on the show, and then no bad or very, very little bad, just a few things that you can point to. This match to kick things off was excellent. This is Rey Mysterio, man, when he is flying around. Remember, Rey just debuted in the WWE, which in SummerSlam 2002, so he's not been around long. This is his first WrestleMania. He's facing Matt Hardy for the Cruiserweight title. Matt has the Matt Hardy version 1 with the Matt facts. This was kind of cool. It worked for the time. It's got kind of like a computer graphics on the screen. And we have Shannon Moore with Matt Hardy. He plays a big role in this match. Moore tries to attack Rey before the bell, but Rey sees him and he tosses him outside. And then he ducks Matt Hardy. And as Matt Hardy tries to attack him from behind, he goes over the top rope. And instantly, we are 5 seconds in. The bell's just about to ring. Rey hits this crazy, incredible-looking corkscrew over the top. He moves at such what we think is fast when we watch guys like Owen and X-Pac, like last week we're talking about their match, or some of the other matches. We watch them really go, and then you watch Rey, and he's just on a different level than everyone else who's even fast. This match is short. It doesn't go very, very long, but it is just a ton of back and forth offense. You see Rey. It's a great worked match, and there even is a lot of psychology with Shannon Moore helping, the heels cheat. You get, Hardy playing the bigger guy with a little more strength, so he's able to catch Rey a couple different times and block some of Rey's, real innovative offense. We'll go to DZ on this one first. This DZ is a great way to open the show. And one guy, when I'm doing these rewatches now, we all have, some of these guys that we start to come to life that we maybe didn't have as much respect for, or maybe didn't quite like for whatever reason, or see. And Rey's starting to become one of those guys for me. I always liked him, but I don't think I ever realized quite how damn good this guy is in the ring.
Yeah, there's a couple of sequences in this match that are just ridiculous, where it's like, it almost feels like it's 5 minutes of just nonstop moves that are just blowing the line. And it's not, it's 3 or 4, but they just come at you like an avalanche. And it's just so awesome to see, because obviously, Rey is so young here and doing everything that he can do. It's his WrestleMania debut, as you said. They're kind of playing up the angle. Matt, I thought it was kind of cool. Matt Hardy, has been struggling to get underweight. He just made it under the 220 limit, so they kind of added like that boxing element to it, which I thought was pretty cool. But even all the way to the finish, the way that it ends. But there's a Hurricane Rana off the top rope that's just ridiculous. Where you think for a minute that Rey's just going to land like flat on his head, and you don't know how he gets his entire body over. The twist of fate false finish, kind of surprised everybody. That was cool. But like you said, look, this is how you open a WrestleMania. It's a high-flying, technically sound match that's got everybody up from the beginning. It's how you want to start a show. I really I'll be honest with you, this is one of those matches that you watch back. I forgot how good this match was. Yep. Because there's so much other stuff going on with this show. But yeah, for me, it's a 4.25 star, 4.5 star match just on quality. I really enjoyed it.
I wasn't as high on that as Darin was, but I enjoyed it. This was a heck of an opener for the amount of time that it was given. First of all, I am a mark for Matt Hardy version 1. Some of the Matt facts that he came up with were really funny. Matt often wonders how they did WrestleMania without him. That was pretty cool. And with the essence of the character, too, just total egomaniac, the I'm better than you thing. They even got the sort of stuttering video in the real player-esque image, which is just, it was perfect for the time, and it helped get Matt Hardy over as a singles guy as opposed to just being Jeff's brother, which hamstrung him for a long time.
He feels here like he's finally Matt.
Yeah, exactly. Now, he does get Shannon Moore as sort of a lackey here. He does the Disco Inferno storyline where he's the big cruiserweight, and again, It's nothing overly complicated, but it works.
Yeah.
He may well have been above whatever weight limit it was, but he passed for 220, so we'll bill him as 220 and we'll give him the title. It worked, and Matt Hardy was good enough as a worker to be able to work with guys like Rey Mysterio, who at this point was wrestling on fast-forward mode pretty much all the time. And it was even more jarring because we didn't see a lot of that in WWF and WWE until the acquisition of WCW, at which point guys slowly started coming over. And WWF had Eddie Guerrero, Voldemort, Dean Malenko. They had some of those guys, but they were sort of forced to work a different style until they got over. This was something completely different, and I liked this match a lot. There were a couple of things that dragged it down for me, though. First of all, and this happens a lot on this show, this was around the time where every big move in every match caused at least one announcer to say, "It's over, it's over, it's over."
Michael Cole and Taz were definitely, I don't know, they were nervous, a little excited. They seemed a little off all throughout the night. I didn't really love them as a team. And I'm honestly not one of those guys that's hard on Michael Cole. I think he does a fine job it's not the easiest spot that he's in. I was never the biggest Taz guy as an announcer. He's okay. I just don't really see a lot of creativity from him.
Well, the thing that helped Michael Cole and Taz a lot as they started to work together more, SmackDown was taped. So they would do a live commentary feed, and then they'd go into post-production and they would learn from their mistakes. They'd re-record some stuff if they needed to, and that worked, and that caused both of them to get better. This wound up being not exactly late in their run together, so they were still sort of gelling as a team. They wound up being pretty darn good, but there were still some growing pains going on there. The problem is the "it's over, no it's not" thing happens a lot in this show, and it's not just with that commentary team. JR had a great night. Jerry Lawler, not so much.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
They do a great spot, and I love this spot so much with Hardy going for Splash Mountain and Ray reversing into a Rana. That was so good. The only thing I didn't like about this match, and it happens a couple of times, the ending sort of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It sort of felt like they were just sort of ramping back up, and then Hardy rolls through, grabs the ropes, match is over. I understand there are time constraints. This is not a short show. This show clocks in at 3 hours and 45 minutes. We're not going to threaten is the podcast going to be longer than the show metric for this one. But this could have gotten another 3 or 4 minutes and been just as good, if not a little bit better. Good opener. Wasn't crazy about the finish. Understand why it had to be there.
Yeah, I think with this match, I think with the women's match, and I think with the tag match, they all felt like they were starting to ramp up, and then they didn't get to go to the next level, probably because they wanted to keep so much time for these big main event matches that they had stacked down the line. So I think that's a good point that we're going to find in a couple of these early matches. Not that I don't think really any of them are even bad. They just could have been a little better with a few more minutes, as you pointed out, Andrew. So yeah, just a great WrestleMania opener. We'd see Ray as a guy they used in openers many times. If you didn't see that Ray Mysterio Kurt Angle match at SummerSlam, check that one out sometime. That is another one where they give Ray, they tell him, okay, Ray, you're going to go out there for 5 minutes and 37 seconds here. And he just goes for a dead sprint. There is no downtime whatsoever. This thing only went 5:37 to start. Up next, a limo pulls up with the Catfight girls. These are the Miller Lite Catfight girls.
Miller Lite, yeah.
Yeah. And they're arguing over which match they want to see more. They're on the show all throughout the night a few different times. Do they want to see Austin Rock or Hogan Vince? And then we come to Taz. This one actually made me laugh because it was just Taz. Like Taz just was, I don't know, nervous or whatever. But he says, I heard the Catfight girls really dig Taz. And Cole says, where'd you hear that? And he just says, I made it up. Just like real quickly. He doesn't even wait like 2 seconds and try to play any gimmick or shtick or anything. And then we get footage earlier from Sunday Night Heat where they used to use Sunday Night Heat on USA and as their sort of kickoff show. and they could have a match or two. A lot of times there would be something that promos, that related to later in the night. Sometimes there would be a match where somebody would win and get an opportunity to wrestle later in the night. We see some footage of Sunday Night Heat a couple different times throughout the show where Nathan Jones gets attacked in the shower by the Big Show and A-Train. And up next, it's the Undertaker versus Big Show and A-Train in a handicap match. So, Darin, I believe with this match, Nathan Jones was someone who Vince and the WWE looked at as this big guy. They liked him a lot. They liked his look. They thought he could be, a next big guy for the company, and they wanted to build him as such. And I think they were looking at a relationship with The Undertaker as sort of a mentor to him on screen and maybe even off screen a little bit to help him. And so they're setting this match up. Undertaker had been feuding with Big Show for a while when it would seem like that would be just a more logical match on paper, right? Just Undertaker versus Big Show, that's fine. But they get the A-Train involved because they've done this a few times, and it was supposed to be Undertaker versus Nathan Jones. But DZ, I believe the rumors were this guy was so bad and so incapable in the ring, they really couldn't even get him to be and do any more than what he did in this match and have any semblance of a match whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what we heard, which is kind of like, I mean, it's like you're about to bring the curtain down on your opening night in Broadway, and you find out that like your third lead sucks, and you have to be replaced.
Yeah,
it's just terrible. Look, the best thing for me about this match was the sign at ringside that said "Mow your back." Obviously referring to I mean, look, maybe it's not. I won't say it's the Undertaker's worst WrestleMania match because Giant Gonzalez obviously sticks out. This is probably the match that I forget the easiest. It could have just been Taker versus Big Show. I mean, Taker's fine. He's doing what he's supposed to do, but the match is just boring to me, to be honest with you. Like after 5 minutes, I feel like I'm already in the match for 20. I just don't really have a whole lot of positive things to say. I mean, they make it a handicap match. I mean, I guess it's believable that Taker can win because he's undefeated and it's Taker. The crowd is always into the Undertaker, but even for this match, I think it kind of dragged out a little bit in some of the stuff that they were doing. Some of the A-Train's moves, like they call it the Derailer and the Decapitator. I felt like I was watching Major League 2 with Parkman up at bat.
He's naming the pitches.
And here it comes, Parkman, all number one, the Terminator. You get
it's going to be the out-of-stater. Pretty soon and then, see you later.
Yeah. Like, and I'm just like watching it. I'm like, oh my god, like how many moves does A-Train have named? Like, how did that happen? I mean, look, like I said, it's Taker, but the fact that this match goes on second and it's Undertaker really tells you all you need to know about it. Like I said, it's not his worst match in the history of WrestleMania, but for me, it's probably his most forgettable.
All right, I guess I have to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome WWE's favorite band in the whole world, Limp Bizkit.
Keep rolling. Keep rolling.
Okay, that's my Tony Chimmel. I hope you all enjoyed that. Can we all make the decision that we want the 5 minutes back where Limp Bizkit and Fred Durst were cool? Can we all just agree on that? That we want a do-over of those 5 minutes?
We screwed up. We effed up.
How cool would a spot have been at some point in this show if somebody came out and just drilled Fred Durst?
It would have been great.
Oh, that
would
like
if he got slammed or something, just like the people went nuts.
The Rock do it? Oh,
yeah. Anything.
Yeah. Now, I mean, take away the one intriguing thing that they did, which was the cover of Faith by George Michael, and you've got nothing. We got them twice on this show. They did the official song of WrestleMania, which is, of course, the ever-classy ditty called Crack Addict. If you want to do a drinking game on this podcast, anytime we mention the phrase, "you can't do that today," take a really big drink. You're going to be blotto by the time we get through Triple H Booker T. You've noticed that I haven't really said a whole lot about this match. That's by design. So the crowd is hot for this match, by the way. Yeah. As bad as this match was, the crowd is super into this. And that's a credit to Taker and to Big Show and, to a lesser extent, A-Train, who, to his credit, shortly after this match, I believe, was let go by the WWE. And he went over and he revived his career in Japan with some surprisingly good matches. That dude was capable, and it got him a second run in the WWE years later.
Came back and became a big trainer at the Performance Center and one of the big pieces. He helped a lot of guys there in NXT over the last few years. They really like him down there. Yeah, he was someone that you could tell because they kept repackaging him. You know, they did it 3 or 4 times with him, and they kept trying to make him a sort of, you know, middle to upper middle card guy, and it didn't go. He was best as maybe like a second to someone where he could just stand in their corner and look menacing. But I'm with both of you. It's if you're just watching this match completely in a vacuum, and you're not looking at it from the what is and who is the Undertaker and what is and who is WrestleMania and all that stuff, it's not bad. I mean, A-Train spits on Taker's bike right away. Big Show tries to attack Taker. That's one thing I thought was kind of weird too, right? Second match in, it's the same exact thing that they did in the first match.
Yep. That's for sure.
The attack from behind, almost identical. They try to bait the baby face, and then the heel comes up from behind, just like Matt Hardy did with Shannon Moore. So you have 2 matches, and there's just something that you catch, and you go, oh, that just happened in the match before that. That's weird, you know. And Big Show goes flying through the ropes. Undertaker with the chokeslam early on. He almost pins A-Train right away. Cole mentions the undefeated streak, so we're really starting to talk about it now in 2003. And Taker from behind. It's Big Show has an abdominal stretch at one point, and then things slow down. Taker fires back up. He keeps having to deal with the 2-on-1 advantage. It's fine the way the match is booked. It just doesn't. It's out of place at WrestleMania. Yes. We know why they do it, but this is a match that's on the main event of a SmackDown, you know, or a Raw that you see. It's just not an Undertaker match at WrestleMania. Give me a stip with Undertaker versus Big Show, and that just feels better. Even if the match quality isn't the worst match quality in the world, like Darin said, you could probably argue there are at least 1, maybe 2. He doesn't do much with King Kong Bundy. There are worse matches that when you watch them, you feel like, this isn't a complete dud. There's not botches and stuff all over. It's just, why is this at WrestleMania? Who is it's just they were really handcuffed by what happened with Nathan Jones, and even if so, Undertaker and Nathan Jones in a tag match against Big Show and A-Train, that feels WrestleMania. This was a swing and a miss here, no doubt about it. Taker gets the tombstone. He celebrates with the American flag. And, Undertaker, this is after, as Andrew mentioned, Limp Bizkit plays for a few minutes, and then they kind of play the Undertaker to the ring. So this was our first dose of Limp Bizkit I think, Darin, you probably had the best word to describe this match. Forgettable. I think if you're making a list of the Undertaker's WrestleMania matches, this would be one. You'd remember the Giant Gonzalez one because it's so bad. You'd remember the King Kong Bundy one because it's kind of weird. It's like, oh, that was a weird one to be having, But you wouldn't. This would be one that you would completely forget. It's like, oh yeah, he was in that weird handicap match where he was supposed to be in a tag with Nathan Jones. So yeah, we spent definitely enough time on this one. We can move on to the Catfight girls one more time. They catch up with Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson. So Tori Wilson has just
Stacy Keibler, by the way.
Oh my God. Yeah. Good. So she and her legs are quite long at this point, and they look great. Both of these women. I'm not going to be the king here, but I'm going to say they look fantastic. Tori just was in Playboy, so she's super buzzy and mainstream. And Stacy is paired with Test right now, and she just created the name for all of Test's fans and followers, and has called them now the Testicles. So
can't do that today.
Yeah.
Everybody drink.
So this was just a great way that something that Vince wanted to get a laugh out of, to get these girls to say testicles a few times. So they say it and they say, "Speaking of testicles, Stacy has a new marketing campaign." So the girls all leave to discuss. They just try to get these girls on the show a few times throughout, and it's funny because you get to see coming up next it's weird because while we still have some of the old guard of the bra and panty stuff that we'll see with the pillow fight later on, and with these four girls who are throughout the show, we actually get to a match next that is really good, and it has a feel of nowadays women's wrestling. It's really quality. I don't think it's quite as good as something you would get if you had like Charlotte and Sasha and Bayley and Becky and some of them at their best, but this match that comes up next is really good. Before that, we go back to JR and King, and JR gets super patriotic. He talks about the troops, tells them to kick some ass and get home, and then we get more footage from Sunday Night Heat where, weird, right? There's no Dudleys on this show, and we have no RVD and Kane, and we do get a Chief Morley sighting. That was Val Venus's character, and he and Lance Storm were a tag team at that point. They show some footage from earlier in the night on Sunday Night Heat. And then it's Trish Stratus versus Jazz versus Victoria, who's the champ, with Stevie Richards. Guys, it's Fink now that introduces the women. And I thought this match was pretty good. I wasn't expecting it to be as good because I'm thinking, this is the time period. I don't know. But I know Victoria's really good, and I love everything I've ever seen from Victoria, and even when she went on to TNA, she did a great job. I know Trish got very good around this time, and Jazz seems perfect in a match like this, in a triple threat, where you don't have to see as much of Jazz, where she can come in for brief flurries, use her strength, show her athleticism, which is incredible. I was pleasantly surprised by this match, Darin. And again, this is one thing that helps to complement a show quite a bit, where you keep going through and, the Undertaker Big Show match, A-Train match, super forgettable. This women's match for the time I thought was really good.
Yeah. So I was actually going to say, during this time period, this is one of the better women's matches that you'll see. And it's actually, it's a good match in general, I thought. I'll tell you, Jazz, maybe not the best worker, but my God, does she look like a monster. Oh, man. She just looks like a tough girl.
And JR says he kind of compares her to Mike Tyson early on, which is, and she is real aggressive, and that's kind of a good comparison. Yeah.
It is. She just looks like a really, really tough girl, and she plays that part well. She actually does have a couple of good moves here. There's like a bridged camel clutch early on Trish. She hits this kind of spinning power slam that she gets hit on by Victoria that she sells pretty well, I thought. Later on, she actually does like this kind of a single leg Boston Crab into an STF. That crazy chicken wing finisher. So you got some more wrestling moves out of Jazz here than you normally see. Victoria's a good worker. Trish is really coming to her own at this point. There's some really cool spots in here, a cool head scissors takedown. There's a double shoulder breaker move. There's a lot of good stuff in the match. I don't really remember what the storyline was going into the match, but in a vacuum by itself, I enjoyed it. This is one of those finishes that maybe, again, kind of snuck up on you, but I thought
out of nowhere.
I thought it worked here, though. I thought it worked here after a good, solid match where you had kind of a bunch of believable false finishes throughout the match. I thought that this was a good time to have it sneak up on you, where Victoria goes for that Widow's Peak move and Trish hits that chick kick and gets the 1, 2, 3. I think it was a perfect time for this women's match. Whatever it was, 8, 9 minutes. It felt like the right time. It didn't drag. I enjoyed it. I mean, is it a 4-star match? Probably not, but I would give it 3 1/4, 3.5 stars. It was a solid match.
Yeah.
I like this match a lot. If you put this match on an episode of NXT or Raw or SmackDown, it doesn't seem out of place at all whatsoever. These ladies brought the working boots, and there are some people who don't remember Trish Stratus of this era being this kind of worker. They remember other things about Trish Stratus that she was otherwise known for. But there's a reason that WWE has brought her back a couple of times over the past couple of years. And she had a very good match with Charlotte this past year. I think it was SummerSlam last year.
Phenomenal shape right now. She's in the best shape now, better shape now even than then, and she goes in great shape on this show. But she can go, man. I forget. She did this shows you because Trish wasn't a trained wrestler. Trish wasn't ever supposed to be a trained wrestler. This is what she worked to get to this point. She worked to get to being a believable wrestler in the women's division. I mean, she was the top of the women's division for years. Her strikes, her forearms, they looked really good. Darin mentioned how Jazz is super aggressive. Victoria, she's good all around. The heels work on Trish early. Victoria hits a nice power slam. And, you get a little sloppy offense here and there, but they were working really hard. They're working at a quick pace. Jazz hits that single leg, I think Darin mentioned, the Boston Crab. She hits an STFU. Victoria with a kick to the head. Then she misses a beautiful-looking moonsault that was just like textbook.
I love that. It looked
great. But, I mean, she was supposed to miss. Then Stevie Richards comes in, which was a funny spot. So he comes in with a chair like he's about to wail on Trish with a chair. Like, come on. Right? We're going to see that. So Trish ducks. He hits the ropes with the chair, and it bounces off and nails him right in the face. And JR just says, "What an idiot. Hit himself in the face." It was really funny.
That's your WrestleMania moment there, Steve. Take advantage of it. Two things here before I move on, please. Though. One cringeworthy moment apiece from each member of the announce team. Gino, you mentioned before this match, they send a shout-out to the troops, and JR says, "Get this done quick." 17 and a half years later, not so much. Swing and a miss on that one. We'll move on. Now, just in case either of you were compelled to do so, some very good words of wisdom from Jerry the King Lawler. Never call Trish a dog. We can talk about her puppies, but don't call her a dog.
Oh, my God. I
can't do that today. Everybody drink.
I missed that one. That is great. I missed that one. This was good. Trish gets the little offense in there on Stevie. She hits the Stratisfaction, and she hits a kick sort of out of nowhere. But as Darin mentioned, it worked. It worked more in this match than I think it did a little earlier, maybe in the Ray Matt match. That kind of felt like that one came more and still had another little level or a few more minutes to go. This was good. The ladies went over 7 minutes here, like 7:15 or so. And as Darin said, one of the better women's matches around this time period that you'll see. Next up, we get Hollywood Rock. And this was Rock as the heel. The Rock had gone and started filming movies. And as he did, the crowd started to turn on The Rock. And so The Rock, which is something they should have done with Roman Reigns, what do they do with The Rock? They let him feed into it. They let him become a heel, and he just does a great job with this, to the point where at the end of his match with Austin, the crowd doesn't even want to boo him anymore. They want to cheer him because it was a great match, and he's putting on such a great performance here. So Coach is backstage with Hollywood heel Rock, and Rock talks trash to all the people who booed him last year. They chanted "sell out" to The Rock. You see, The Rock is a sellout. He sold out every damn WrestleMania he's ever been in. Tonight, The Rock could care less about the people. The Rock is here for one reason and one reason only, to fulfill his destiny, to beat Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania, right in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. The one thing that consumes The Rock. Call it the biggest night of he calls it the biggest night of his life. And he says that Austin has beaten The Rock twice, but it's here, and there's one thing that Hollywood's taught me. It's that Act 1 and Act 2 don't matter. I like that. That was cool. And it says the only thing that everyone remembers is Act 3, the end, the climax, the grand finale. He calls it the end of the greatest rivalry this industry has ever seen, when Stone Cold Steve Austin goes one-on-one with a gridiron beating, pie eating, not afraid to sweat, not afraid to bleed, going to beat that bald-headed bastard guaranteed. And he slows it down and he says, then, Coach, The Rock would have done it all. Finally. He walks away. I love that one, guys. I thought that was a really great promo. I thought
that was a really good imitation of the promo.
It was darn good.
Yeah, I loved it.
I gotta tell you though, this promo was the embodiment of a couple of storylines that I wish WWE would do more of. Here's the key, and this is not hard. This is as simple as it gets. Wins and losses matter.
Yep.
I mean, this mattered so much to both The Rock and Steve Austin. When The Rock says, this is the Holy Grail, the one thing I've never done, it consumes me. It eats me alive. Compare that with promos we get for guys talking about, oh, I want an opportunity. I want an opportunity at a championship. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, it is.
And it should not be that complicated to instill an environment where wins and losses matter. For a while, NXT had that, but now they're going more to the network model where it's 2 hours and it's a little bit more of a watered-down product in keeping with Raw and SmackDown. Wins and losses should matter. And that's what made this storyline so great. That's what made the HBK Jericho storyline so great. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And there were a couple other storylines in this show where that was a big thing too. It shouldn't be complicated. And a lot of the things that make wrestling as appealing as it can be have to do with little simple details that nobody does anymore.
Yeah. I kind of feel like when McMahon, gave everybody a peek behind, over the fourth wall where, admitted that this is sports entertainment, I feel that an unfortunate result of that, maybe unintended, is that we got away from the win-loss stuff.
Yep.
Because it became, if everybody knows that this stuff is scripted, the story far outweighs the end result.
And he says that, Darin, what you just said, when you hear other wrestlers talk about it, that's what he tells them.
Yeah.
He tells them when they go to bat for themselves and not even in like a, hey, I need to win this, when they say, this seems weird for my character or the storyline, like why would this happen now and not tomorrow or next week? He always says, well, everybody knows now, pal. They know it's okay. The wins and losses don't matter. Those are things that the wrestlers say. That's why we mention it, because he actually does say and think that and talk people into that things that way for those reasons.
Yeah, and there's also the other aspect of they're not trying to necessarily build stars anymore. If they build stars now, great. It's a happy accident. Yep. They're trying to build their brand.
WWE.
Big difference.
Yeah, and the weird thing about it now is that they try to build stars while simultaneously at times giving them storylines where they consistently lose.
Yep.
In big spots. You mentioned Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns obviously is the guy that, got the biggest push of the last 5 or 6 years in the company. And sure, I mean, he's had some huge wins, Undertaker at WrestleMania, Triple H at WrestleMania. But, during the real big push in the beginning, that dude lost a lot.
Yeah, and they're extending it. It's another month. They were doing it. They go too much with it. It was like the Lex Luger syndrome, and they keep dragging it on to the point where you don't care. They almost got in trouble with that with Daniel Bryan, too. They were very close. Really close. They kept pulling it out to the point where if they didn't give him that WrestleMania run, they would have ruined him. He would have never been a main event legitimate guy when he was the hottest guy in the company for a year and a half and putting on these great tag matches and the stuff with Kane, and he's doing this awesome stuff with Orton. And it's just, you see the difference in philosophy from, when we do these rewatches from what they did 20, 25 years ago. And we're really hitting it. It's just, they keep pulling the rug out from everyone as soon as they get there. They don't give them the opportunity. And it's a bummer because we don't seem to get the magic like we get here with a Rock Stone Cold storyline. I was just watching, Raw last night, and I'm wondering, and it just feels like there are so few things out there right now that would even get me really excited. I think maybe like a cool Kevin Owens babyface run where he got a shot to maybe actually get the ball behind him would be fun. There's maybe a couple guys that I see that I could be excited for, but there's not a ton out there because, like you said, Andrew, We've seen them win, lose, win, lose, 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 win, lose, lose. It's just back and forth and back and forth. And it's a little unfortunate for us wrestling fans. Let's move along. We could do a whole podcast on that topic
and
alone.
We should at some point.
We really should.
This is pretty cool.
It is. Okay, so now we get the tag match. This match is about exactly what you would imagine seeing the guys that are in it. It's Los Guerreros, so you get Eddie and Chavo Guerrero. You have Chris Benoit and Rhino as a team. And you have Team Angle, Shelton Benjamin, and Charlie Haas. And to start, all 6 men go at it. Eddie's looked really big at this point, and they're all taking turns. Shelton hits this crazy leg drop when it goes for a pin. And Eddie breaks it up with a frog splash. This was a great spot. Rhino hits a nasty spear, as you would imagine from Rhino. Shelton steals the pin. And, 9 minutes, nothing that is super memorable or you're not going to think of this as the greatest tag matches ever. It's not going to be bad when you see these guys. They can all work. Rhino's a big dude who can move, Andrew, drink. And the Guerreros were having incredible tag matches. Eddie was one of those unsung heroes of this few-year period where he's just having great matches with everyone on the card in tags, and then when he was up to the main event. So it didn't jump off the page to me. It felt like with another few minutes, it could have stepped up and taken another level, Darin, but it was fine tag match, just nothing that I will really write home about.
It felt a little rushed to me. It felt like they crammed a lot of moves and a lot of stuff in a short period of time. I thought this was a match that could have been a little bit longer. And I think I could also think that having back-to-back triple threat matches is probably not the best idea either.
A lot of similar spots, right? Yeah,
a lot of similar spots. You kind of just saw this, even though it was women and tag team, so it's different. I think that probably, hurts it a little bit as well. I thought the finish was good. I liked how they did that. Everybody got their spots in. There's a cool snap suplex, a couple of high angle back suplexes there. Obviously Rhino doing his, spear, which they call the gore. Gore! But then, there's a nice spot where Benoit catches Eddie into a beautiful superplex. Chavo goes through his thing where he takes out everybody with a series of moves. There's a lot of good wrestling in here. It just kind of feels like there's no story because the match is just a lot of good wrestling jammed into.
Everybody's got to get our spots in real quick. We got 9 instead of 14 like we were supposed to get.
Yeah, it was 14, 15. I think this match probably would have been a lot better. Look, it wasn't bad, and it can't be bad because everybody in here can go, like you said. But it just wasn't that memorable. For me, it was fine. It just wasn't great.
Fun fact, watching Benoit matches is easier if right when you hear his music, you flip both middle fingers square at the television. It's a great therapeutic device. Now, one of the things that I thought was really cool about this match, and you've got to look really closely or you'll miss it. When Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin come out, they're doing the thing where they're wearing the hoodies and they're super focused and whatnot. And Benjamin does that. Charlie Haas, though, if you look really closely, you can see him sort of peeking out from his hood just to see the massive amounts of people in the building.
Little
and
starstruck.
I thought that was really cool. Because this was not a guy that was supposed to be a big star. He didn't know how many more of these moments he was supposed to have, and he wanted to make the most of this one. So power to him for that. This match was fine. Wouldn't have been out of place on a SmackDown. This was half of the SmackDown 6, as they would be called during the Paul Heyman era. You have the Guerreros, you have Benoit. The other 3, I believe, were Angle, Edge, and Mysterio, if I have that right. That sounds about right. The Guerrero-Benoit stuff, brutally difficult to watch for me. We won't get into why, but that's just really tragic there. It wasn't bad. I liked Eddie doing the frog splash to break up a pin.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a pretty cool spot. I liked the finish as well. Nobody was hurt by that and the way that went down. Team Angle escapes with the tag belts. It fit their character. this was fine. I'll agree with Darin. Would have benefited a lot from 3 or 4 more minutes.
We get the catfight girls one more time with Stacy and Tori. They argue over who made WrestleMania, and then the catfight girls argue. And what's great is one of them calls Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. Hulgan, just is like, uh-oh. I botched the name of basically the biggest star in the history of wrestling. So this next match, I think, so this is 2003. There was about a 2-year period in my life, I think from 2003 to about 2005, when I was like sophomore, junior, senior in high school, and I was playing soccer, coaching multiple teams, and I kind of forget, but I sort of got out of wrestling. I just wasn't watching it week to week. I popped in for some of the pay-per-views here and there because I had the black box, but I think this was the time period where I wasn't watching as much of a week to week, and I really forgot a lot about this Michaels and Jericho match and the feud and the storyline leading up to it, because they have another really great storyline a couple years after this. And guys, I love this freaking match. I really did.
So good.
I really love this match. This is Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. This is all about the legacy for Chris Jericho. Shawn, who just returned at SummerSlam in 2002. He was the world champion at Survivor Series 2002. And remember, Jericho, he's already been the undisputed champion at this point. He defeated The Rock in Austin the same night, but somehow he still doesn't quite feel like a main eventer yet. He still feels like a guy who may have popped in there, and then he's still like an intercontinental level, high IC level type guy. This has got to be one of Jericho's best matches, and this was by far his best match at the time. I do remember reading and even reading up on this that a lot of the gripe on Jericho at this point was that he hadn't had any of those classics like we may have seen him have in Japan, or maybe a few of the cruiserweight matches that he had in WCW. He hadn't really had any barn burners. He'd had a lot of solid matches, but nothing really incredible. And this one is definitely up there on that short list for Jericho. We get that build up, we get the video package, and this is a great build. It started back in December, and then the Rumble. Jericho wanted to be him, and he got told by many people he kind of is the next Shawn Michaels. Now he wants to be better, and then he wants to end Shawn's career at Mania. Jericho comes out first. This is when they start mentioning the filming of WrestleMania, the movie, that ended up being this really weird sense of dumb luck for WWE. They're talking about filming this movie, WrestleMania, that's going to be one of their WWE Studios' first releases, and what ends up happening is they get all this backstage footage from this night that ends up being one of the most important nights in the history of their company, where Austin ends up having his last match. Angle has this, Angle shouldn't even be wrestling in the condition that he is. Brock ends up getting that big injury. You get all the backstage stuff with Hogan, with Vince, with The Rock. It ends up being just a total blessing in disguise that they get all this footage. And they end up, using it for years to come on different documentaries, different shows, different specials. So there's a slow feeling out process. JR runs down Shawn Michaels' credentials, and King is mad that the fans have been calling Jericho an ass clown because Jericho made that up. We get a baseball slide by Shawn, a cross body and a roll through. Jericho with a nice spinning heel kick. JR reminds us that Shawn hasn't been in a big match at WrestleMania since '98. This is his first Mania back. Shawn skins the cat, head scissors, Jericho over the top. He goes flying over the top. They do some work outside the ring. Shawn goes for a drop kick, but Jericho catches him and puts him in the walls of Jericho. And then Jericho works on Shawn a little more outside the ring. And Jericho's taunting the fans. He has the advantage now for a little while. He covers Shawn with one foot to kind of mock him. And then Shawn counters a back body drop with a DDT that Jericho sells really, really well. Both men are down. And then this is great. Jericho starts to go into Shawn Michaels cosplay now. He hits the flying forearm and then the nip up, and then he poses like Shawn, and then Shawn nips up while Jericho's celebrating, and Shawn attacks him from behind. Shawn fires up. He hits a moonsault. Now things are starting to pick up after that slow feeling out process. They're going back and forth, pin counters, and you get a bulldog, then a lion salt, Jericho for 2. He's starting to get pissed off because Shawn keeps kicking out and nothing's working. Jericho locks in the walls of Jericho. Shawn gets to the ropes, and then Shawn counters the walls for a close near fall small package. He hits Jericho hits an awesome reverse elbow off the top rope. Y2J starts tuning up the band. He does a little side shuffle, and he hits sweet chin music. It looked pretty good. A lot of times when guys try to do someone else's moves, it doesn't look great, but this one looked pretty good, and the little shuffle added to it. And then Shawn goes for the walls of Jericho, but he can't get it locked in. We see a lot of that throughout the night, guys using the other's move. Let's see. Both men are up at the top rope. Jericho goes for a suplex. This was kind of it was almost a botch. It was close to being bad. Jericho is going for a suplex. Shawn counters into a crossbody, and Shawn almost lands a little high on Jericho up by his head and neck. It was real close, but they're still okay. They managed to work through it. It doesn't look awful. Shawn goes to the top, and then Jericho kicks the referee into the ropes, which is a great spot. Shawn ends up, crotching himself on the ropes, and then Shawn face plants Jericho off the top, and Jericho has another brutal landing, flying elbow from Shawn. He goes from sweet chin music. Jericho ducks and gets the walls on, and Darin, I've gone through most of this match here, and we get up to the very end, but I'm sure you'll pick out a few things that I didn't. This thing went around 22 and a half minutes, and I watched this match back again right afterward just to pick up some of the things that I thought I missed because I loved it. The psychology, you see these two guys, and this was a lot of the best of Chris Jericho.
So if you want to watch a match that gives you both a combination of amazing technical wrestling and phenomenal storytelling, this is one of the matches that I would point you to. It's a great story. Y2J emulates Shawn, grew up idolizing Shawn. I'm in the ring with the guy who's the reason I do what I do. You get a lot of the stuff with Shawn's back early on. They sell that quite a bit. So that's a really cool nod to the past from 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and why Shawn has been out. I love the constant reversals, the constant counters. That's just like, that's like when Bret Hart would have a good match, and that was constantly what was going on with those reversals and counters because it's just phenomenal wrestling. There's a Northern Light suplex in there by Jericho. That's ridiculous. The finish. I love this finish. I thought it's one of the better kind of cradle roll-ups that you'll ever see. It catches you a little bit by surprise, but again, this is one of the good surprises because you've had so many false finishes here. Super kicks, guys kicking out, getting out of the walls, lion salts. You thought like 20 minutes in where, Jericho's yelling at the ref. He runs back and, gets hit with the super kick. Shawn crawls over. You're like, oh, this is it. And 1-2 kick out. The entire building thought that was the end of the match and was shocked when it kicked out. There's a crazy back bump before the finish as well when Jericho grabs him and, then HBK rolls him up. I can't say enough positive things about the match. It's one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. And then at the end, you get what you think is going to be a really cool moment with Jericho.
This is so
where
great.
it's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Like, look at it. Teacher, oh, this is great. And then you get I wouldn't say a better moment, but another cool moment when he kicks him in the balls. It's like it went from being a really cool moment for one reason to being a really cool moment for an entirely different reason. Which is like it just tells the entire story of the entire match. Look, I could highlight a million moves in this match, and like you did, and just it's great storytelling. It's great wrestling. The heel flex pose pin and, kind of like in front of him with the, with the flex and HBK kips up, and comes after him. It's all just so damn good. At this point, Jericho really, for backstory, Jericho really needed this match.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said very well, he didn't get to that main event point yet. but he hadn't really had that classic match yet. And this was the big one for him. And by the way, 5 years later, these two go on to have a ladder match at No Mercy. That's completely ridiculous also. And they're pretty close in terms of match quality for different reasons. But yeah, Jericho needed the match. HBK delivered in his first WrestleMania back. So many great things about this match. And you could say stole the show.
All right, we'll go beginning to end here because when I said that there were some storylines where wins and losses mattered, this is one of them. The hype video has Jericho outright saying, I grew out of wanting to become the next Shawn Michaels and wanted to become the first Chris Jericho. HBK tells Jericho to be a man. Jericho says his skills have surpassed HBK's. So good, so simple. 31 writers in WWE, take notes. You don't have to do much. You don't need to overcook some ridiculous plot. Do this. This never gets old. HBK comes out, does his entrance. He is visibly pumped. He does a little dance up at the top. Mm-hmm. He knows that he's made it back.
He's got the bounce in the step for sure.
The important thing to note here, HBK was not back on a full-time basis yet. HBK worked the one match at SummerSlam against Triple H. That was a very good match. Came back at the Rumble, did his thing. Then went into the program with Jericho. He was not a full-time guy yet. It wasn't a case where he just came back and was working every week. This wasn't that. There was genuine concern over Shawn's body at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Michaels goes out to the ring, tries to get the confetti guns going, and two of them misfire. And I just I can't help but think what Vince McMahon must have been thinking at that point. There would have been a couple, damn it, exclamations in there, I'm sure, directed at the guns and or the people who were supposed to point them there. That's a good little dose of humor for you. He gets into the ring. The big pyro by the Safeco Field sign. Oh, God, that is so good. That sign was made for that kind of pyro display, and Shawn did the pose twice. And the first time had the pyro in the ring. He turns around, does it again, and I'm wondering, well, what's going on here? And then you look in the background, and it's, whoa!
Yeah.
Really cool stuff that you get from being in a stadium that you don't necessarily get from being in an arena setting. So these were two guys selling absolutely everything for each other, and HBK is selling this back when Jericho goes after it like Jericho's running a steamroller over it. Jericho gets the walls outside the ring, breaks the count going back in to try to inflict more damage on him, works the back pretty consistently. I love the nip-up spot where Jericho poses and HBK pops up and goes, really, dude? Really? But the spot in the match that I love the most, Jericho gets HBK into the walls. There's genuine suspense because he had been in the walls a couple of times. His back had been getting worked on. Michaels reaches the ropes. Jericho breaks the hold and he's crying.
Oh, yes.
He goes to the referee and says, he tapped out. He tapped out. Like he's trying to convince himself that he tapped out. And at that point, there are some spots in certain matches where the wrestlers know, okay, we got him. That's the we got him moment right there. That was so, so good. Michaels pops up. They do the finishing sequence. They go home. It's a great match. End of the match. They do the hug. Jericho knees Michaels in the balls. JR is in peak JR form at this point.
Flipping out.
I am damn sure proud to see that. Oh, come on. What a bloody ass cheap shot. You talk about being a sick, pathetic loser. So good. So they go back up the ramp. And someone, I don't know who, Jericho doesn't out this person, someone goes up and yells at Jericho and Shawn Michaels for going long. Now, Jericho had had a series of incidents in WWF, WWE, where he had heat. Sometimes it was justified. Sometimes it was some of the worst luck imaginable. Jericho's second book goes into this in depth, and it's fascinating. Michaels stops the guy. And Michaels goes, when you have a match like that, you can go as long as you damn well want. That match could have gone another 10 minutes, and it would have been great. And I'm glad Darin mentioned the ladder match at No Mercy many years later. They actually had 3 different matches. It was a trilogy on pay-per-views. All 3 matches very different, with very different styles and stories that were being told. If you haven't seen that trilogy, do yourself a favor and cue it up on the network. It is so good. These 2 guys had such good chemistry, and it made sense because the story they were telling was these guys were mirror images of each other. It's not quite mirror images, but they work similarly enough to where they told that story, and they told that story many times about as good as you can tell it.
Yeah, just love this. As Darin said, and can't say enough good things about it. We all went through the specifics. Damn good match. And if I'm ranking and do it in your head a little bit, and we'll talk about this at the end after the third. If I'm ranking the 3 matches on this show that I thought were all very, very good matches, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, The Rock versus Stone Cold, and Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar. This one to me is one of those, is number 1 in those 3 rankings. It's just story, work rate, everything. 2 guys that I really, really like when they go in there, told just a phenomenal story. Backstage, we see the referee, Sylvain Grenier, the one who helped Vince screw over Hulk at the previous pay-per-view when Hulk Hogan had made his return in a match against The Rock. And he enters Vince's dressing room, so they tease a little something for later on that Vince will have a ref in the bag. And then my notes, Limp Bizkit performs. 5 minutes I skipped over. So this was exactly 5 minutes of showtime that I just skipped over. I don't mind, and this is just a little too much Limp Bizkit. We actually did get another Tony Chimmel introduction where he said something similar. Our favorite band again, Limp Bizkit. And they, at least because they have the tie-in with The Undertaker and the entrance song and stuff, at least they fit. I'm fine with them playing the entrance song out. This was just a little bit too much. I'm okay with 3 minutes of Limp Bizkit. We got about 8 or 9 minutes of Limp Bizkit on this show. That just is a little too much. Okay. Now Coach introduces the WrestleMania cat fight. Jerry the King Lawler is as excited as you would imagine. And there is a bed out there on the
it's as big as my apartment. My goodness.
Mean, jeez, this bed is massive. It's honestly got to be 10 feet long, a bed, like huge, and a bunch of pillows. And the girls, it's the cat fight girls, and they crawl up towards each other. They're getting ready for a pillow fight, and then we hear Stacy Keibler's music. She comes out. She says the only thing better than 2 girls in bed is 3. And then Coach says, we're going to have a 3-way tonight. He's all excited. Then Tori Wilson comes out. They start fighting, and Coach is calling the action. Like, he's calling the play-by-play of these. That was one of the funnier spots I thought of this, is that he's legitimately trying to call the play-by-play as, like, one girl is spanking the other girl. Literally smacking her. She's got her like in a pinning combination, and she's just whacking her. And Coach is there. I could have done without seeing Coach in his underwear here. It's weird. This feels out of place when we see what we saw just a few matches earlier with a really good women's match, Darin. I know at this point, and we saw why they did some of this. They had a lot of really good-looking girls, and a lot of these girls on the roster at the point weren't trained wrestlers like nowadays. But it felt a little weird. This felt like something that was more of like in '98 than what was actually happening in 2003 when you had Trish and Victoria and other girls that you could get on the show and that could really wrestle.
I was watching this just going, Jesus, like,
yeah.
How did they get away?
Forget about things like this.
The part of this match, like the beginning where Tori like rolls up Stacy and is like, are you kidding me? My wife is like, we were watching it together, and she's like, she didn't watch wrestling at this time. She watched it. She was a late '80s, early to mid '90s girl. And then, it came back around the time that we started dating. So she missed this period, but she's sitting there going, well, now I know why you kept watching all those years. Look, I mean, it's just wild to say the least. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that went on, at times, you remember the Edge and Lita celebration on Raw. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you just look at and go, holy crap, like how in the world did they ever get away with this stuff? And you remember, Andrew, I'm sure you saw it, Vince McMahon did an interview with Bob Costas a couple of times on his HBO show years and years ago. And one of the topics that Bob brought up was, how Vince treated the women, in the company. And I believe there's a storyline going on with Trish at that. It was either Trish or Tori, I forget at that time. When they were bringing up the stuff that, Vince was doing to some of these women. And, and this is, you're talking 20 years ago, Bob Costas is saying, you can't do this stuff. And Vince was defending it, saying, it's a soap opera, man. If you keep watching,
make out with Trish right in front of Linda and doing stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. If you keep watching the story to the end, the woman is gonna, she's gonna be the one that ends up standing tall at the end, and I'm gonna get what I have coming to me. And Bob's like, well, that's all well and good, but you still got this girl standing there in a bra and panties, and you're spanking her in the ass. Like, how in the world do you think that's okay?
Yeah.
And looking back on it, it's just kind of like in this spot, it's just kind of shocking to think that at one point we all watched this thinking that this
didn't feel like off. Yeah.
No. And Andrew, I don't know about you, but now, like watching it, I don't watch it the way I did back then. Now I watch it just shaking my head going, my God, how in the world did they do this?
All right, everybody, get your glasses ready. You can't book this today.
And this is only 2003, right?
No,
we're not talking about 80 stuff.
No, my notes for this match are literally everything you'd expect. Like, you have 3 buxom models and Stacy Keibler, whose legs are about 500 miles long. You have a bed with a whole bunch of pillows. You have not a whole heck of a lot of clothes. Yeah, this is about what you'd expect. I mean, this would be the spot where in WrestleManias of years past, they'd have an intermission. There was the segment before with Limp Bizkit, and then you have this. It works out to about 15 minutes. This was their way of intermission, and the thing that jumped out to me at least was the vantage point that the crowd must have had for this. It couldn't have been particularly good.
No.
Because this was off to the side.
It wasn't in the ring, even.
It wasn't in the ring. It was on top of the ramp, and it was underneath where Limp Bizkit was playing from. It just, if you were live there, that couldn't have been a particularly great viewing experience, even if you bought a ticket solely to see the Miller Lite girls beat each other up with pillows. And if you did, I really hope in the 17 and a half years since then, you've gotten the help you needed. There's stuff on the internet that's much more rewarding and much more easily accessible. But this was what it was.
Yeah.
Look, this was 17 and a half years ago. So I was 14, I think, at the time. That was who they were marketing to.
Yep.
They were marketing to people going through puberty. We were all in that, general age group. Gino, I think you're a year older than me.
Yep.
Darin, you're a couple of years older than us, but it's that age group. It was the 14 to 15-year-olds to people that are in college or want to be in college.
Well, and that was the difference too, is that was a lot of the the appeal for many of the older wrestling fans that their appeal was NWA wrestling and early WCW wrestling versus the theatrics that were WWF. And when we talk theatrics, we're just talking more pageantry, and then it became a little bit more of this, and that's where some of the older wrestling fans wanted more of a pure wrestling product to get into, because they just didn't get into the stuff that was, pointed towards a younger adolescent audience, which is exactly what this was. I mean, this is to get all the guys pumped. I can't imagine any girls out there were like watching this interested or excited or going like, hey, that could be me, after you just saw Trish Stratus throw down a really good match.
Yeah, Trish was great. Jazz was great. Yeah. Victoria was great. And on Gino, back to your point, you're right. This did feel out of place, but I'd argue that was just as much a function of that triple threat match being about 10 years ahead of its time.
That's a good point.
And I think that's a credit to Trish, Jazz, Victoria, Stevie Richards even. He helped with that. The agents in the back. That's the kind of match that ultimately set the stage for what we're seeing now. We're seeing the four horsewomen. We're seeing Io Shirai. We're seeing Rhea Ripley. All these women that can tear it up. And that doesn't happen without matches like that triple threat match. And thankfully, we have gone that direction as opposed to the direction of some of the Attitude Era segments. Look, we all loved this segment when we were that age. The difference is we grew out of it, and I'm happy wrestling has grown out of it in general.
Yes. Up next is Triple H versus Booker T.
Here we go.
So it's funny when what wrestling fandom does to you and how you look at different wrestlers through the years, right? So for me, I'm a Bret Hart guy as my first ever wrestler that I really, really loved, really was into. So some of the wrestlers who were Bret's rivals or opposed Bret, I was always on the Bret side. So that meant early on, Shawn Michaels. Took me a little while to warm up to Shawn Michaels. Stone Cold. Took me, and everybody was really hot on Stone Cold. I was still on the Bret side. It took me a little while there. So Triple H being on the DX side, on the opposite of, in the Shawn side, on the opposite of Bret. It always took me a little while to warm up to Triple H. And Triple H gets a lot of crap for a lot of things he's done through the years. And I, for the most part, am not very hard on him. I think he's done great things now in his new role with NXT. He has a lot of real quality matches and really good work. This is the worst thing that he has ever done in his entire life. If this was a movie, if this whole story, the whole Triple H versus Booker T, from the moment that Booker T became the number one contender and the build-up for this whole storyline, from beginning to the end, when Triple H wins this match at the very end, this would be the worst movie or worst story ever. There's no ending that makes sense. There's no feel good. There's absolutely no arc whatsoever. The bad guy just wins. If you want to have Triple H win the belt back from Booker after this in a month or two, and Triple H is going to be your guy going forward, that's fine. I understand all of that. The way this match was built up, with all of the racial undertones, getting into Booker T's backstory, everything that happened to him being in jail, all of his hardships, he has to win this match.
Unquestionably.
He has to win this match. There is, and Dave Meltzer even says that he was, everything that they did, he was supposed to win this match, and Triple H just changed it last minute. You can I can get on the same page with you as saying, hey, Triple H is a much bigger star than Booker T. That's fine. Triple H was going to be probably a much bigger star than Booker T. That's fine. This was the moment for Booker T to win this match. And not only the match is too long, it plods a little bit. It's a very Triple H when he's in this era of he's trying to be Harley Race, and doing a lot of flair stuff. The way the ending is with, how long he takes before he pins Booker T. Darin, when we talk about, the Hulk Hogan's holding guys back, we talk about Vince, who's done some, shady things through the years, and Nash, who I got mad about, and the WCW show that we talked about. This might be one of the worst all-time things that's happened in a storyline, in a match, and I'm so disappointed watching this thing back because he does not need to win this match here. This should not have happened.
Yeah, oh boy. There's so many things going on. Look, on that point first, Triple, like you said, he gets a lot of flack that's probably not entirely deserved. and the subject of, him going over too often. I mean, the guy's got a terrible WrestleMania record.
Yeah.
Granted, he lost to The Undertaker 3 times. So that's a part of his WrestleMania.
And Warrior once too in a squash.
And Warrior once in a squash, correct. So, we do need to keep that in mind. I thought he should have. I personally thought he shouldn't have won the match against Sting. I didn't get that ending either. And
Goldberg,
we could debate.
Didn't he beat Goldberg Lesnar? He beat Lesnar at WrestleMania.
Yeah, he beat Lesnar.
And they
too,
lost to him later, but yeah. It's
that
weird ones. Yeah.
That at least had a story to it that made a little sense. The Sting one, I didn't really understand what the point was of having this huge Sting push coming back with that awesome Survivor Series moment, and then he loses the WrestleMania match. That made absolutely no sense to me. But this is worse for so many reasons. Number one, before you even get to this quote-unquote feud, he worked one of the worst programs you've ever seen in your life with Scott Steiner before this, where, his match with Steiner at the Royal Rumble is horrendous.
Hose down. And when it comes back to it, he was basically given this title.
Yes, he was.
To start out.
Yeah, exactly. So this entire run of Triple H is a cluster. Now, you talked about the racial undertones. We can use the word undertones, but it was as passive-aggressive as it could get. There was a promo a couple of weeks before where Triple H, I went back and watched it, said things like, I think you're a little bit confused about your role in life here. You're going to go to WrestleMania, but the fact is, Booker, somebody like you doesn't get to be a world champion. People like you don't deserve it. It's reserved for people like me. You're not here to be a competitor. You're here to be an entertainer. That's what you do. You entertain people. And then he said to him, hell, you entertain me all the time. Go ahead and do a little dance for me. You have got to be kidding me. Forget about stuff you can't say now. You couldn't say that then. Awful.
And not let the guy get the comeuppance, right?
And then you have the match. And like you said, if there was ever time for a guy to win, it was kind of like the Virgil DiBiase stuff. There was no way Virgil wasn't winning that match at SummerSlam.
If this was a 5 to 7 minute sort of squash match where Booker just unloaded on Triple H for everything and got over, that would be fine. That would have been a much better way to book it, even though Triple H was going to be the bigger star. This was the moment. This was the build. They did a great. I hate the build in how bad it was because what happened at the end, right? That's what and so we can't. The build up to this was good in that it made Booker. This was as hot as Booker was ever in the WWE. At this point, I think King Booker stuff was good after. He had some good stuff with Goldust, but he was finally, like we were saying with Jericho, this was him starting to feel like he belonged. And I think, Andrew, you mentioned it when we were either teasing the show last week or maybe just to me. It's amazing that Booker T was ever over again after this.
Yeah. Now, to give the necessary exposition on just how bad this was, Triple H had his ascendancy to the main event with a killer run of matches in 2000, 2001. He gets hurt. He tears a quad. He's out of action for almost a year. He comes back, and if you haven't seen the Madison Square Garden pop that he gets when he comes back, go watch it. It's deafening, the reaction that this guy gets. Yes, it's a total, convergence of a whole bunch of things. You have an over guy coming back from injury. You have a top 5 all-time theme music, I think. I think that's absolutely perfect for him. And you have him coming back to get what's his. Problem. When he was away, he picked up 20 to 30 pounds of sheer bulk. Not muscle. Bulk. And there's only one way you can get that, folks. It's through a needle. So he comes back, and it is not as though he is a bad worker. The problem is he's not the kind of worker that was having the kinds of matches he had before his injury. Again,
the hardcore ones with Foley, or even like you go a few years back with like matches that he'd have with Owen.
Yeah, he wasn't that worker.
Hunter Hurst. Yeah.
Yes, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. The problem is it took him 3 or 4 years to figure out how to work these 4-star matches with that style. It took him a while. Now, combine that with the fact that at this point, he's married to the boss's daughter. He's the top guy on Raw, and he is engaged in a number of horrible storylines. Darin, you mentioned the Scott Steiner one. Gino, I'm going to mention one that I think is worse than this.
Katie
Yep, absolutely. The stuff with Katie Vick was sickening. It was in horrible taste, and the less said about that, the better. So then you get the Booker promo. Booker T gets the title shot, and Triple H tries to laugh him out of the building. Now, if you'd stuck with arrogant heel against wrong side of the tracks challenger, that's one thing. Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes did that for 5 years and printed money.
Mm-hmm.
There's a formula to that. But then you get someone like you doesn't get to be a world champion. Who thought that was a good idea? Now, this match. I've been building this up since I watched it a couple of nights ago. We need to drag Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah,
we need to drag him hard.
Yep, I got a lot on that too. Yep.
I'm going to reel off 4 quotes in succession, okay? This isn't in order of how bad they are. This is the order in which I took them down. Number 1, we want a world champion that is Johnny Cochran on speed dial?
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 2, Booker should have known he'd never amount to nothing when he was born on a pool table. Number 3, Booker T, the guy whose family portrait is a courtroom sketch.
Yep.
Number 4, we went to the mall and he tried to pay for everything with cigarettes.
And JR, normally when he's doing this, there'll be 1 or 2 things that would be funny that would crack him. And JR
he was pissed.
He was mad. He's not giving him anything. And you could see 3 or 4 times throughout the show where JR was really annoyed with King.
Yeah,
he really was getting on his nerves.
And he actually shuts King up really good.
Mm-hmm.
And to Lawler's slight credit, I guess, he got the message because JR brought up the fact, Jerry, you're no stranger to the inside of a courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look up Jerry Lawler's history and some of the things he's been accused of, that'd shut me up too if I was in Jerry Lawler's shoes. I think that was a case where either JR went off script or someone said into JR's headset, I got to rein him in now, pal.
Mm-hmm.
So all this stuff is happening. Booker's trying. Booker he's a mirror. And that's not a negative thing when you're talking about a guy like Booker T. If you put him in the ring with a world-class wrestler, you're going to get a world-class match.
Yep.
He proved that in the series with Voldemort in the late 90s. He would prove that with a couple of other really good workers as well throughout the course of his career. You put a good worker in with him, you'll get a good match. You put a mediocre worker in with him, you'll get a mediocre match. And that's what we have here because Triple H wasn't a great worker at this point. And you know this because he locks in the Indian Death Lock, and JR tries to sell it like it's the most lethal submission move in the history of professional wrestling. Now, it's a fine submission move, and it's a decent transition hold if you're trying to tell a story, work the leg, whatever. It is not Ric Flair's figure 4 leg lock, easy for me to say. It's not the sharpshooter. No, didn't work. So then you get the finish. Triple H gets up when both guys are down, hits a pedigree. Both guys go down again. And I didn't clock this, but it was probably how long was it, Gino?
Okay, so Booker when Booker hits his scissor kick right before this and he can't get to the cover, it's 19 seconds before he ends up rolling over and get the cover. It is 24 seconds after Triple H hits his pedigree before he covers Booker T for the 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I was going to say 30, so it's in the ballpark.
Yep.
So lays down for what seems like forever, rolls over, 3 count, and that's it. Are you kidding me right now? This entire angle can only be salvaged if Booker T wins this match.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and you know what we'll even argue? I'll argue it doesn't even necessarily need to be for the title. It needs to be Booker getting the offense and Flair getting involved for a DQ. You know what? That works better than what we have here. And allegedly, and now we're getting into rumors and stuff, and we don't necessarily 100% know if this is true or not. Allegedly, Booker was told up until the show, you're going to win, you're going to win, you're going to win, you're going to win. They signed Goldberg, and they decided to keep the belt warm for Goldberg. My problem with that is Goldberg didn't come right in and have a program with Triple H. Goldberg wouldn't win that title for another 6 months. What the heck are you doing here? This was a situation where maybe Booker wasn't ever going to be a super duper star. You give him a win here, and you see how far he can carry the ball.
A month, even if it's a lose on Raw where Flair helps Triple H cheat to get the title back. But you gave him the moment. Exactly.
Yes, precisely. Get out of my head, Gino. That's kind of scary. But you give him the moment. You give him the moment where he's posing with the belt. He does the pose and the fireworks go off with it. That's what you give him there. And it took him years to get back to that point. And he had to get back to that point with the King Booker gimmick, which looking back, personally, I don't think that gimmick had any right to be as successful as it was, and Booker made it work. That's a testament to how good of a worker Booker T was, especially with that kind of a character. He should have had his moment here. It should have, even a DQ victory would have been something because it would have proven that Booker was on Triple H's level. The way this was done was probably the worst it could have been, and it was for no good reason. Everybody involved should be ashamed of themselves. Jerry Lawler doesn't pay for this nearly as much as he should. And if anyone wants to dig up dirt on WWE and do a hit piece on some of the things that they've been doing, this match is as easy a target as any in the WWE library. You can hear how angry I'm getting right now just recapping this match. It's for good reason. This was flat out wrong. Oh, I need a breath.
And I'll go through more, and then DZ, if you have anything else at the end, you can kind of clean up this match before we get into Hogan and Vince. So, honestly, one of the worst all-time booking decisions. So, another thing that was weird, right? Triple H gets announced first as the champion. Just kind
I wrote that down too. Yeah, strange.
It's kind of a weird thing. And King is just really bad-mouthing Booker. And he said, you heard what Triple H said about WCW. That place was a joke. I thought this was kind of a funny line. And JR says to King, how long did you work for WCW? King says, never. And JR says, well, I did. King says, well, was it a joke? JR says, damn right. But Booker wasn't. So it was just funny. Quick start for Booker. And again, this is where you get the Ric Flair, like Harley Race stuff. Triple H goes to the top rope twice in this match and gets caught. As Andrew mentioned, he's trying to throw different things at the wall and see what's going to stick because he's a different style worker. He's trying to put on these long like epics and then really slow things down and pace it. And they're more like old territory matches than what would fit really here. This is when when King makes the pool table comment. JR says, how the hell would you know that? Who in the hell told you that? The Fink? He was drunk last night. So they just take a shot at the Fink right there.
Poor Fink.
Yeah. And it just, a couple times I wrote down, this is a very Triple H match. It's just not bad. It's just not great. It's just there. And knowing the ending, when you watch it, it makes it even worse. This is when King says he can't imagine going around the world saying Booker T is our champion, the man whose family portrait is a courtroom sketch. And that's when JR starts getting back at him. He says, King, you made mistakes and you're no stranger to a courtroom. King says, mistakes? Huh, me? And that's when he I think gets a little bit embarrassed and shuts up a little bit. Spinebuster from Triple H. Booker hits a big DDT and he gets that starry look in his eye. And then we get another one from King where he says maybe he's thinking back to his days behind bars. It's like, and JR says this is when JR is really getting mad. He said, "Hey, you should get off that horse. You've ridden it to the ground, and it's done, you know." And King said that's when he mentions the mall thing, and it just how you watch this again, and it's like, how does this guy, with the way the commentary is too, how does he lose this match? Like, King is laying it on so thick that the only thing possible is, oh, he wins, and even Booker can come over and tell King and, like, flip him off and tell him to screw off. You know, like, that's the way this match is supposed to end. He's supposed to be standing over and telling everybody, look, you were wrong about me, not, oh, yeah, you're right, I'm not good enough. Let's see, we get a big kick from Booker as Triple H goes off the top again. Why? Booker misses the scissor kick and goes over the top rope. Flair starts working on Booker's knee. He tosses Booker into the steps. That's when we get the Indian Deathlock, and JR does go crazy. I haven't seen anyone use this move in 10 years. Booker's doing his best. He's selling the knee. Triple H tries to whip Booker into the turnbuckle, and Booker falls over because his knee gives out. And then Flair screams at him, "Get up, you damn fool!" And JR's really getting mad at King. Booker gets a 2 count on a roll-up. We get a ref bump, another roll-up. Now a flying elbow from Booker that looked really great. Coming off the ropes, it's starting to feel like Booker is building up to get this win right now. We get a scissor kick, but then 19 seconds before Booker's able to make his cover after the scissor kick. So he crawls over, pin, 1, 2, just a 2 count. So Flair, then Booker tries to go to the top rope. Flair comes over. Booker nails him. Triple H comes up to the top. Booker knocks him off. Here comes Flair again. Booker hits a flying leg drop off the top. A flip. It looks cool. But again, 10 more seconds before he's able to cover because he's selling his knee. And then Flair is able to put Triple H's leg on the bottom rope to save him there. So just a 2 count. Booker T's leg ends up giving out. And then it's just boom, pedigree. It takes 24 seconds. They're both on the ground. Triple H crawls over for the pedigree. It's the 1, it's the 2, it's the 3. In an era where we were getting guys doing each other's moves, 2 or 3 moves to kick out in the big matches, this one was 1 pedigree to Booker after he'd laid there for 24 seconds and he still is not able to kick out. I mean, the match is okay. The last 5 minutes are good. Just one of the worst booked endings, one of the worst booked results I can remember. About 19 minutes overall. It felt like 25 or more. This is where Booker is supposed to win. Flair's going crazy after the match. He's calling Triple H the greatest of all time. And Darin, it's just, in our opinions, what all of this was literally the opposite. This was one of the worst things that I can remember.
Yeah, regarding the ending, not only is it 24 seconds until he gets pinned, but after the pedigree, Booker is laying on his stomach. He actually picks his arm up and rolls himself over and still gets pinned. So it's not like Triple H crawled over, rolled him over, and pinned him. Booker T rolled himself from being on his stomach to on his back. And I don't mean like right after. I mean like 7, 8, 10 seconds after the pedigree. He picks his arm up, pushes up, and rolls himself over to get pinned. I mean, that can't happen. None of this should happen. It was, look, it's just a cluster from start to finish. The story was in terrible taste. Jerry's comments, the ending of the match. I mean, this is just something that you would rather forget. And, we don't hear it talked about too often. You don't hear Triple H ever really talk about it. I'll tell you, I would be curious. It'll never happen because, Vince is probably, Triple H will probably run this company when Vince is done. But I would love to get a, one-on-one interview with him at some point where they bring this up and hear what he actually thought about it.
And he has to talk a little bit about it. You know what I mean? You put him in a little pressure on him. Yeah. And even on Booker's end, too.
Yeah. It'll never happen because of how much of a high up in the company he is. But I would be curious to hear what he really thought about how this all went down.
Yeah, one quick note before we move on here, and I feel it kind of important to point this out. given the global atmosphere in the grand scheme of things. There have been some times where we've pointed out some comments that have been made. The thing that jumps out is the stuff Jesse Ventura would say about Tito Santana. This is 10 times worse than that.
It's different, too.
The difference is,
it was in light, and Tito was along with the Joe. I don't necessarily even know that, but it was just, it's different. It's
different.
not
Absolutely.
in the same ballpark.
It's so different. And the difference was usually Jesse looked like an idiot, and he would wind up getting his comeuppance when Tito would do something really cool, and the face would get the win as part of the proper storytelling. There was no proper storytelling here. This was Triple H saying, I'm better than you, I'm better than your people, and then proving it by winning clean as a sheet when Booker T didn't get a shot and got buried, and it's a miracle that he got back to the main event level again. Watching this again left a really bad taste in my mouth, and we haven't even gotten to the match that I thought would give me the worst taste in my mouth. Oh, wait, we're here now.
Yeah, so we're up to Hogan versus Vince, and
boy!
Yeah, we get the build-up package about their history. Who is the main reason for the success of WWE, the success of WrestleMania? Hulk leaving for WCW, testifying against Vince. Vince created Hulkamania, now he's going to kill it. So there's a lot, obviously, with these two guys in a storyline. The problem with all of this is Hulk Hogan is one of the short list of pillars of your company forever. That's literally what the storyline is about. We don't want to see Vince in a competitive match with him. We don't ever. Vince's use as a performer in matches is great on Raw to pop a rating, to see somebody give him a stunner or a choke slam or a power bomb or whatever it's going to be. Let them get their hands on the boss. Everybody loves seeing that. He helps make guys on TV all the time. It's Vince in the pay-per-view that I would have a problem with. One, because I don't think we ever thought Vince was really going to win matches, in pay-per-view. And two, I'm supposed to believe that Vince can go toe-to-toe with Hulk Hogan for 20 minutes. I just don't. It just rubs me so the wrong way. This is a guy that you built up as a larger-than-life character forever. And so even so much as I like when older guys are putting the younger guys over. But when you have a guy like a Hulk Hogan, and they did this with Kurt Angle in the last year and a half, their value is no good if they lose to everybody. You've got to pick and choose a few of your up-and-coming guys for them to lose to. You don't have them lose every time to everyone. So Vince was doing weird stuff with Hogan here. He obviously didn't want the crowd to feel like Hogan wasn't Hogan anymore. And so he has this 20-minute match where, I honestly think if this thing was 5 to 7 minutes, these two guys beat each other up for a little bit. Hogan's, it should have been an elongated Hogan squash. Vince could get a couple spots in where he had the underhanded ref helping him, and maybe a Piper spot or one or two other. Give me a bunch of bells and whistles. A lot of guys, if this is the schmozzy match where we're getting people involved, there was just a ton of it where it's like Vince looking like a badass. It's like Vince beating on Hogan. It doesn't make sense to me, Darin, with everything that. And I know even you're not a Hulk guy, but from this bad perspective, it's like this has been your guy, and now you're telling us that you are equally as tough or on the same level as him, where you guys can go 20 minutes and you have this crazy street fight, you're bleeding. The guys work their butts off. Both these guys, it was totally not necessary.
There's two different ways to look at this match. In a vacuum, by itself, just as a match, I thought they both worked very hard, and I thought they did a damn good job at it in terms of just in a vacuum. There's a couple of really cool spots in the match. The spot where Vince peers out over the top of the canvas, covered in blood. He looks like the devil.
Awesome.
That's a cool spot. The spot where Vince is on top of the ladder and actually drops a leg on the table. So, Vince at this point is 57 years old. Kudos to him for being able to do that, in all seriousness. But outside of looking at it in a vacuum, so like you, look, I agree with everything you said. In addition, when Hogan left and went to WCW, your whole thing about like him and Savage being like old geezers and stuff, like that, like WCW needs to take our sloppy seconds and our old geezers. And now the big sell match of your WrestleMania is a 50-year-old versus a 57-year-old in a street fight.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Then, Vince for years was anti-blood. Everybody in this match gets bloody.
Hugo gets busted open.
That announcer gets rocked in the face with a chair.
And the best is, like, Hogan looks so nonchalant after he just clocks him, too. Like, he just does not care.
Yeah. The other part of it, I think Hogan was, like, blown up after 5 minutes because they literally do this, the Greco-Roman knuckle lock
strength or whatever.
For like an hour. I mean, look. Oh, yeah. It's just, after the match that he had with The Rock the year before, booking Vince as the evil, tough guy who's pummeling down the hero Hogan, like we saw in 1987 and 1988, whether it was Andre or Earthquake or whoever, whoever he fought against, where he would have to hulk up and overcome all odds and stand up to the giant and defeat him. We're really putting Vince McMahon in that role in this match.
And and let's say, Vince looks phenomenal, right? For his age, he is he's in better physical shape at the time than Hogan is, Right. But it's just weird. And this is all Vince's ego thing. That's what it comes down to. It's, hey, look, I can do this. This is like, I don't know if you ever seen the Curb Your Enthusiasm where they're trying to do the Seinfeld reunion and everybody agrees to do it except for Jason Alexander. So Larry starts saying that he can play the role of George and nobody will really notice. And they're looking around and Jerry and Kramer and Elaine are like, you're kidding. You don't think anyone's going to just notice that you're not George? It's like Vince is, I'm a main eventer. I'm going to come out looking great. Nobody's going to notice. They're
that's
not
a good Vince, Gino. I got to tell you, that's pretty good.
But yeah, keep going, DC.
No, it's just so basically you took a storyline from 15 years earlier and basically applied it to this match, and I mean Hogan basically gets his ass kicked for a good 7-8 minutes, which is just mind blowing. When they did the Bret Hart Vince thing, it was a complete annihilation, right? It was Bret just beat the hell out of the guy for however long it went on. This is just, it's almost like treating McMahon as the big bad wrestler, which is bizarre. And I almost feel like when I watch this match back, that these two guys before the match sat in a room quietly together and said, we're going to steal this show.
You're right. No, they did.
We're going to go out there for 20-something minutes. We're going to beat the shit out of each other. There's going to be blood and guts, and the place is going to go nuts. And all anybody's going to talk about after this WrestleMania is Hogan McMahon. That's what it feels like in watching this match. It's just bizarre on so many levels. And aside from my animosity towards Hogan, look, I don't care if Hogan goes over Vince. Whatever, fine. Let's not be ridiculous here. But this match is just ridiculous for so many reasons. And, I can't, going back and watching it, I was almost, confused as to what I'm seeing. And I wasn't angry about it like I was the Booker T match, but this to me was just like, what the hell was this all about?
I've missed you very much, Darin, and I am so happy you're back for things like this because there's a lot that you covered, and you covered it so well, but we found different things to laugh at with this match.
Great.
So they start the match and they do the worst imitation of ground and pound that I think I have ever seen.
You didn't like that
by
Hogan in the beginning?
They try to bash each other's heads into the mat doing these half-assed chokeholds and whatnot. That was bad. Michael Cole cites Vince McMahon's cutthroat tactics in business as a possible advantage in this match. Oh, yeah. He's going to negotiate for an extra 0.5 percentage point in profits, and that's going to help him hit Hulk Hogan with a steel chair.
I'm glad you mentioned Cole,
Michael
too,
Cole.
Andrew. Because I know that they're doing, SmackDown Raw. I felt like this match would have been a lot better with JR and King. Just from a history standpoint.
Yeah,
you get more with JR, who's got a longer relationship with Vince and Hogan. Cole's a little more of the new guy here. I just think it would have added maybe a little bit more to it. Who knows? Maybe it goes over the top, but yeah, keep going, Andrew.
Okay, so McMahon gets a hammerlock, and he hits some of the worst knee drops in the history of professional wrestling while in this hammerlock. Okay. They do a test of strength. In a street fight, they do a test of strength. Now, guys, I haven't been in a whole heck of a lot of fights, let alone street fights where you have access to weapons. Have either of you ever been in a fight where your first instinct is to do a test of strength?
It was like, I think, Darin, did you say that you thought he was blown up? And that might have been why. It might have been like an audible you call in the match where Vince is looking and seeing Hogan and they're going, hey, let's sit here for a minute and let Hulk catch his breath. Maybe he came out firing. Maybe not. I mean, because we got to remember, this is the kind of thing that Hogan's done all throughout through the years in matches like this.
So while they're in the test of strength, I don't have who wrote this. It might have been a Cole thing, but someone says they call these two guys the two greatest men in the history of sports entertainment. And I'm laughing so hard my sides ache at this point. That is how much I am hate watching this match. So, to the two guys' credit, the tempo picks up after this. Vince takes a sick chair shot right to the head. Unprotected chair shot, uncomfortable to watch, but we have long established Vince McMahon is a crazy person. So, he takes the chair shot, he blades, blood goes everywhere. Hugo Savinovich, God bless him, takes a bump off a steel chair. Vince grabs a ladder and Cole compares him to the Hardys. Okay. Where are we going with this?
Vince Hardy.
Yep, indeed. Yes, he too got his start in an underground trampoline wrestling promotion. That's how he practiced for the big time. Vince does the leg drop through the table. Again, Vince, crazy person. Fine, we've established this. That's not the part of this match that really got me. The part that got me, and I forgot about this. Fan runs in. Black sweatshirt. Black everything. Huge gut.
It's just big, so out of shape.
Takes the hood off, and it's Piper. Now, I am a huge Rowdy Roddy Piper fan. I will defend a lot of the stuff that he did even after his prime as being better than a lot of people want to remember it as. This version of Roddy Piper looked like he was inflated with helium.
Yeah.
He comes out, has no direction with anything he's doing because he hates both guys.
Yeah.
A couple weeks before this show, he was on TNA television bad-mouthing WWF, WWE, saying he'd never go back there. There would be a real sports interview that came out not long after this, and then he'd be shown the door for a little while. This was not good. He comes out, grabs the lead pipe, sort of half-heartedly, kicks Vince almost like a shove kick with his foot. Like how you move something on the floor you didn't want to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hits Hogan with the pipe and storms out. Okay, what am I supposed to think here? Am I supposed to think that, Vince paid Piper and he's a reluctant henchman? I don't know. The ref doesn't let Vince use the lead pipe in a street fight.
Yeah.
There's no rules.
His
if
boss.
You're a referee, you're there to count the pin. That's it. That's all. And all that does is set up a really bad ref bump.
Oh, God, poor Brian Hebner. Oh.
Yeah. They bring out Sylvain Grenier. Whatever. Then it's Hulk up time. Hogan hulks up, gets not one, not two, but 3 leg drops. Good night. Now, this match is why WWE does not book for us. And I would be remiss not to say that. The crowd was going crazy for this.
In the Hulk up, I wrote that down a few times. I mean, for the music, for the pop when Hogan came out, which it gives Voodoo Child is fine, but I get such more of a warm feeling with Real American. It just doesn't feel the same.
Now, here's the thing that gets me, though. After this match, you guys remember what happened? They did the Midnight Rider gimmick with Hulk Hogan as Mr. America.
Mr. America with the mask.
That's what this match led to. And that would have been fine if we got it for 2 minutes every SmackDown show. Instead, we got it for 20 minutes every SmackDown show until Hogan went and got himself fired. That was the storyline with Zach Gowen and the prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
That was the storyline with Roddy Piper and Sean O'Hare that went nowhere. Vince McMahon came out of that looking horrible. Everybody looked bad. To their credit, Hulk and Vince tried. And that's more than we can say for the participants in a lot of really bad matches over the years, some of which we've watched and broken down on the show. These two guys tried, and they did some stuff that you would never expect guys half their age to do. And you know what? Kudos to them for that. That's fine. But my goodness, this entire match left me scratching my head. No one was asking for it. There were so many better ways to use Hogan. You know what? You guys sort of hinted at this when we were talking about the Taker handicap match. Just have Taker go over Albert. Put Big Show in. Do the Hulk versus the Giant thing.
Sure.
And you know what? That makes sense. Because that's what Hogan's done for as long as he's done it. And there's a proven formula to that. Maybe he doesn't get Big Show up for the slam, but you know what? You get what you get. This was weird. I felt dirty watching it. I feel dirty talking about it. And
One thing that I forgot about, too, is the little thing after the match felt a little weird to me, too, with Shane. So I'm sure it's part of the storyline, or maybe it's not. Who knows? Like, maybe Shane is going, what the hell did my dad just do? He's 58 years old, 57 years old, and he's bleeding profusely. He just went through tables, chairs, headshots. So Shane comes out to check on his dad, and there's this really weird energy between Shane and Hulk, where, it's like Shane's kind of tiptoeing, and then Hulk opens the ropes, and Shane comes in, but Shane kind of looks upset. Hulk's looking like he's being just a real snossage, kind of walking around the ring and waiting and staring Shane down. I felt a real weird energy, and then poor Michael Cole, DZ, which we're gonna find out in the main event. At this point, his voice is shot, and JR is almost getting there. These guys, they're losing their voice.
Speaking of voices, one voice. We talk about little things that bother us. Now, this is a little thing, but it's just something that bothers me. And I get it. We have different announcers for Raw and SmackDown. Fine. Does it feel wrong to you that Fink is there and he's not the guy announcing Hogan coming to the ring?
Absolutely.
I mean, you gotta have Fink, because it just left me flat. You don't get the announcement for him coming down. You don't get the Fink, adding to the pop. And then you don't get the winner of the match. Oh, Hogan. Like that's a part of WrestleMania. He's got to be the guy announcing Hogan's match. I
never thought about that, but you're right, Darin. That's really strange in hindsight.
Yep.
So, Yeah, now we're to the two final matches. Next up, it is The Rock versus Stone Cold, and we get the build-up package here. This is Stone Cold's last match. They're not billing it that way. We didn't all know that at the time as fans. He didn't want it known. He didn't want this to be like a send-off. He wanted this to be the moment for The Rock. The Rock was getting his moment, getting over. He's putting him over after The Rock's done the job for him a couple times. And leading up to this, The Rock had never beaten Stone Cold on a pay-per-view and one-on-one. Not only in the two at Mania, there was also a Backlash match they had. The only time that The Rock ever really got over, they also had IC title matches, years prior. The only time The Rock got over Stone Cold was at the Survivor Series when they had the invasion angle. And The Rock ends up winning for Team WWF, against the Alliance, and he gets over Austin there. And that's, we never really saw The Rock getting the better of Stone Cold. So, as they talk about this being a great rivalry, it is because these are two of the greatest all time, and these are two megastars who both come into this company at virtually the same time, and their stars rise almost together. But it is weird because it was definitely Stone Cold 1 and The Rock 2 in the pecking order. It was never The Rock, the guy, over Stone Cold for the most part. So this was a big moment as we went through that Rock promo a little earlier on, and Andrew mentioning how important the wins and losses were in a feud like this. And sort of a bummer. I like the Hollywood Rock entrance because it's different, but it's kind of like the Hogan thing, like not getting the "if you smell." It feels weird when The Rock comes out, not having that. And then you get the big pop as expected for Austin. And this is a match that is made for JR. These are two of his guys that he brought in, his projects, the guys that he loves, and he knows everything about them, and he's giving you just all their great backstory. I love the little quip he mentioned at the beginning. The Rock's from Miami, almost as good of a football program as Oklahoma, and he gets a laugh there. And he's probably I was laughing because I thought he felt probably a little more free, because I'd imagine Vince isn't in his ear right now. Vince is probably backstage getting sewn up, and he's probably doesn't got the headset on telling JR what to say or directing him. So JR gets a little more freedom here in how he wants to call this match. And you forget, because you think this is Austin's last match, that he's going to be a little tentative, and you can see him in spots where he might be struggling physically, but man, he doesn't want to show it. They're going at it early. Austin punches early. He goes for a stunner. The Rock ducks out, and he heads down the aisle. Austin chases him. They are really going after it, moving quick all over ringside. JR says that Austin is as nasty as any human being can ever be, and JR just really on his game here. And all Austin slamming Rock into the steps a few times. Back in the ring, he's choking the Rock. And then, Austin hits a suplex. We get a little bit, like, he's trying to not just be all punches and kicks in here. So you're getting some semblance of an actual match here from Austin, which it was more of like fighting at this point. He just didn't have a lot left physically. And I just wrote down a few times, damn, Stone Cold is going. And Rock ends up taking what ends up Rock takes out Austin's knee a few times from below. He kind of chop blocks him. JR mentions the knee braces of Stone Cold. This was a funny little back and forth. And King says, those things should be illegal. They're made out of metal. They could be used as a weapon. JR says, what the hell do you want them to be made out of? Cotton candy? Plastic? And then King just kind of shuts up. So JR got the better of King at least a few times throughout the night. And then this is when King says, come on, JR, it's WrestleMania, which JR has all night been saying. If you had to remind me 55 times it's WrestleMania, he's just pissing JR off. The King is just getting on everybody's nerves. Now The Rock goes to work. And the problem with Bobby doing this shtick, we've said it from all the way back to 93, or with King doing this shtick. It's not like when Bobby does the shtick, and that was my note here. It's not like when Jesse does the shtick. It just feels too forced. It doesn't feel natural or funny. We watch those guys back and we laugh at them. This just feels like annoying. It's like, I want to turn this guy off. It's kind of the go away heat sometimes when King's not on. He can be really tough to get through sometimes. Rock locks in a sharpshooter. JR mentions Brett at this point, which is kind of cool. And Rock's in complete control now. So the tables have turned. He puts on Austin's vest and he drinks some water and he starts mocking Austin. He gets back in the ring. They hit a double clothesline. Then Austin with a Thez press, one of his staples, and he starts unloading rights on the Rock. Middle fingers, then an elbow for 2. Austin stomps the Rock in the corner. You get the what chance. Rock, let's see, then Rock hits a flying clothesline, then a nip up. Rock bottom by Austin for 2. Then Austin goes for a stunner. Rock blocks it. He flips Austin off, and he gives Austin a stunner. And Austin sells this stunner great. I mean, it must have been like an inside joke to The Rock that he was going to sell it like him. Because he does. He kind of flips over like The Rock sells his stunners. I loved it. And King keeps plugging that WrestleMania movie. The Rock with his Rock doing his punches. And then the double middle finger. Then Austin ducks. He hits a stunner. Rock goes absolutely flying, and it's great, and JR is just going crazy, just a 2 count there, and now the crowd is chanting Austin. We get a low blow by The Rock, and they do a low blow right. This isn't like a low blow WCW style. It's behind the ref's back. It's quick. It's not right in front of the referee where it should be an automatic DQ. It fit here, the low blow. And Rock's struggling. He doesn't have any chance. He can't lose again. He doesn't have much left. So Rock misses a people's elbow, then Austin misses a stunner, and then Rock hits a spine buster. He gets the people's elbow for 2. JR says, "The rattlesnake refuses to die," and JR just losing his voice. Rock bottom for 2. The Rock is just in disbelief. Austin dodges one attempt, then he hits another rock bottom for 2. Rock sizes Austin up. Rock bottom number 3. And that third one was devastating for the win. Just under 18 minutes. Rock pushes the ref out of the way. I'm sure he had a cool little something to say with Austin. They had a little moment there when Austin's laying down. And the crowd's not really booing The Rock because this is a damn good match. And The Rock goes to see his family ringside. And then he kind of leaves and gives Austin his moment. Whatever they knew or didn't know at the time, I think Rock may have thought that this definitely was probably the last time these 2 guys were going to go at it. And with Rock's schedule and the Hollywood stuff, we didn't know how much more we were going to be seeing The Rock. We didn't know about Austin either. So, Darin, maybe it's not as good as one of their matches, but man, I don't have a whole lot of problems with this one.
Well, it's funny you said that because I was actually going to say something on that note, so I'll pick it up right from there. A lot of people, most people, like their WrestleMania 17 match the best. For me personally, this is my favorite match.
Me too, yeah.
And it's a much different match than the WrestleMania 17 match. Obviously, all the Vince stuff that went on there. But there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in this match. Number one, The Rock's character kind of changes throughout the match. He goes from being the cocky, arrogant heel early, and it's almost like his character kind of morphs a bit through the match. And the fans are not really ever booing him too much. But at the end of the match, they can't boo him. It's almost like Rocky in Rocky IV against Ivan Drago, Mm-hmm. If I can change and you can change, everybody can change. But the beginning of the match, and we always know like how Rock sells, Austin stuff. Rock's like selling everything like it's haymakers. I mean, the punches, he's like jerking back like he's getting hit with an anvil in the face. I mean, everything that Austin hits him with, he's selling to the nines. I thought it was cool when Austin, drapes him over the outside wall right in front of Rock's family. That was by design, that was the spot that they were going to do that in. All of the stuff of them doing each other's moves, I thought was great. Now, you talk about people not knowing that this was Austin's last match. Watching this back and keeping that in my mind, I have a very difficult time believing that The Rock didn't know. And I say that from his facial expressions. I say that from
how he acted after the match even.
Yeah.
He's not really celebrating. He's kind of gone.
Yeah. So, like, if you watch near the end of the match, his facial expressions kind of change. They kind of break character a little bit. The last rock bottom that he hits, he holds Austin up for like 5 to 7 seconds, where he's kind of like taking in the moment of this is it, you know. And then, as you said, after the pin, you know, where he's, you know, these guys had such a heated rivalry and everything that was going on, the way the match started, that he took a good minute where he was talking to Austin, you know, and you know that he was saying some pretty cool stuff. But watching that part of it, you know, and the way he, like, before he gets up, he slaps him on the chest a couple of times, and he goes back and he does it again. And if you watch Rock as he leaves the ring and walks back to the dressing room, it looks to me like he is fighting back some emotion. He's constantly rubbing his hands over his face. His eyes are opening very wide, which is what somebody typically does when they're fighting back, getting choked up a little bit. And when he gets to the top of the ramp, he kind of turns his back. So he watches Austin one last time, and he gives him like another signal and another send-off. I have a hard time watching all of that The Rock didn't know. I love the match. Like I said, it's different than some of the other stuff that they've done. But for all those reasons put together, the story that it told, probably the fact that it was Austin's last match, this actually ended up being my favorite match between the two of them. And I mean, I could watch this match a million times.
I like this match. I don't want anything I say after this to be indicative of anything that says I didn't. I didn't love this match, and I'll tell you why as we go through it. So Austin walks out, crowd goes bonkers. JR has a really good line. This is his life. This is his destiny. But the same can be said for The Rock. Again, wins and losses matter. Put that on a t-shirt. We'll sell it for $19.99 plus shipping and handling. So Austin teases the stunner early. Rock goes for a walk, gets chased, and winds up taking a lot of bumps at ringside early on. And the more I watch this match, the more I'm thinking, Rock's taking most of the bumps because Austin only has X amount of bumps he can take. Remember, Austin is wrestling this match, as it turns out, without medical clearance. He went for a second opinion and didn't get it. He was basically wrestling this match knowing, okay, I'm done. Hopefully I get through it in one piece. If not, it's going to be good television.
And they moved this match, Andrew. This was supposed to be the main event.
Yeah.
And the reason why it was not was because in the days leading up to this, Austin basically had a panic attack. Yeah. He was so anxious about everything happening, if he'd be able to physically get through this. He didn't want to go out there and crap the bed and have a bad match. He didn't want it to be in the main event and have that be a lasting image of many people for him. So they end up moving this match. They thought about having the Hogan-Vince match main event. And good thing they didn't, obviously.
Amen.
They end up going with Kurt Brock, which is a fine choice for a main event. But they thought about it, and a lot of, like what you said, Austin's not in great shape leading up to this. To me, that kind of just impresses me even more that he's able to pull out a pretty damn good match.
Right. And again, I like this match. The problem is, at least for me, so they do the wild brawl thing for 6 or 7 minutes, and then they get back into the ring. And when they get back into the ring, they start finisher spamming. And it just didn't seem to me like, for the most part, there was a lot of psychology behind it. It seemed like, okay, big move, kick out, shock face. Big move, kick out, shock face, whatever. And it was the same thing for 10 minutes. Now, these two guys had enough charisma to where they could have done nothing for 10 minutes, and chances are they'd have managed to pull something off. It would have been fine. Rock grabs Austin's vest. They do a double clothesline spot, and Austin takes a while to get up. This is pretty similar to when we were watching the HBK Austin match from WrestleMania a couple of years prior,
Yeah.
knowing what kind of pain that guy is in.
It's
a
hard when you
direct
know, or
correlation.
like a perfect 91 SummerSlam, you know, and he's about to be out for a while. It's a little hard when you know and you can see them take some of those bumps and you go, ugh, like you cringe with them.
Yep. Now, you mentioned the JR line, the rattlesnake refuses to die. Such a great line. I love that line. JR had such a good night on commentary, especially compared to the other three guys that were doing commentary. He was just so much better than everybody else at ringside was. So, rock bottom, the first one. King goes, it's over. And that's how you know it isn't. Commentators, just shut up. You're completely diminishing the value of finishing moves by doing that. Because the second someone says it's over, we know it's not. Rock gets two more. The third one's good for a win. Darin mentioned it, and I'm happy he did. You could see The Rock was holding back something as he left the ring. I mean, bona fide heels do not, in character, go to their family after the match, show love and respect, go to the back, while constantly peering back over their shoulder looking at the guy in the ring. He knew. He had to know. And he would be not necessarily done in the WWE in the next month to 6 weeks. He'd come back for WrestleMania 20. He'd come back for a couple of one-offs. But it would be 7 years after WrestleMania 20 where we would see The Rock in the ring again. And he knew too. He knew that his career was taking off and that this might be his last WrestleMania moment.
Yep.
That's part of it too. So he gets his win here. Austin's done. This is his last match. Rock puts over Goldberg on his way out the door. Goldberg looks like $1 million in that match, even though the match isn't any great shakes. Rock comes back at WrestleMania 20, and then he's gone. It's a real changing of the guard type moment. One last dance between two of the all-time greats. And even though I would not put this match near their WrestleMania 17 encounter, I think that's an all-time classic, and I just think this match is very good. This match is very good, and it says something when you have two guys that could work together like this and make it as good as it was, despite the physical limitations of one of the guys in the ring. This was very good. I liked this match. I can't say I loved it or that it was great, but it's a fitting conclusion to their rivalry. Both guys brought it, and the win mattered to The Rock.
We get to main event time, and the reason why people talk about this WrestleMania being maybe the best or one of the best or on the short list is because you're now going to get the third match of the night that's just super, super quality. It's Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, remember, he came in 2002 just after WrestleMania, so he's been around now for 1 year, and when we talk about the quickest rises to stardom, he's right up there with anyone that we'll ever talk about. They put him over The Rock right away. By SummerSlam, he's the world title. He's holding the world title, and he's legitimate. But this is the match that's supposed to be two legitimate athletes. You get two wrestlers. We get the build-up package, and Kurt Angle's been kind of Weasley with Team Angle. So if he gets DQ'd or counted out, or anyone interferes, he's going to lose the title. Now, we talked about the shape that Austin was in. Kurt Angle was told by doctors that certain bumps could paralyze him. He should not be wrestling. In fact, Kurt Angle was supposed to lose the title to Brock on SmackDown before this. Meltzer even said they all thought that was going to happen and they were going to have to change plans for WrestleMania. And instead, Angle ends up leaving that match with the title. And he says, I want to go out on my own. I want to go out at Mania. And he convinces Vince to let him do this match. And so they're thinking this is going to be his last match, maybe ever, at least for a while. And it was supposed to be a little earlier, on the show. They changed things up with Austin, and this ends up being the main event. So, Michael Cole, poor guy, he can barely get words out here. We get some mat wrestling early, back and forth, some amateur stuff, some freestyle. We get the gold medalist versus the All-American. There are some really fun stories kind of classic stories of these two guys in the locker room and a couple of the interactions that they've had where they were having these rogue matches where, 10, 20 guys, the whole locker room's around throwing 5s and 10s and 20s down on who's going to take who down and who's going to win, and everyone's betting on them. Like, everybody was legitimately interested in seeing these two guys go at it because they were badass athletes who were real, who could really kick your ass. And they were incredible performers too. And we see Angle, which I kind of forget. I mean, he tosses Brock around for a lot of this match. He really does. Belly to belly, suplex. He's throwing him all over. Brock pops right up at the beginning, hits a clothesline. Then Brock with a press slam. Angle German suplex. Tosses Brock's neck into the top turnbuckle. And then Kurt is going to work. Bow and arrow submission. Lesnar starts fading. His face is getting super red as Kurt's choking away at him. A few more minutes and Brock gets away. And then Brock gets tossed with a suplex. And then Brock gets tossed outside. It is all Kurt for a while. Brock then catches him with a spine buster. It's weird to see so much Brock selling, when we are used to this age Brock for the last few years. And he'll still sell for guys that he likes, and even for smaller guys sometimes, but Kurt is dominating this match early on, and then Brock's turning it around. He nails a few suplexes, and then Angle hits 4 Germans. Boom, boom, boom. Brock counters an Olympic slam, and then Kurt counters an F5 into an ankle lock and then a half crab. And these two guys are laying it in. We look at this thinking that Angle can't really do much, and you sure as hell wouldn't believe it watching what he's doing. Let's see. Brock tosses Kurt over the top ropes. He goes flying. Kurt then hits a release German, and Brock flips over and lands on his stomach for 2. That was a great spot. Angle slam for 2. Brock rolls up Kurt for a 2 count, then an F5, and Kurt kicks out. And Cole says that that's never been done before. That might be true at this point. I don't know if anybody had kicked out. I mean, remember, Brock's only been around for a year, and he's been treated as a devastating type. So there may not have been many that have kicked out of that. This thing really picks up in the last 5 minutes or so. And, Angle gets a roll-up for 2. Brock hits his second F5. And Brock's starting to look a little gassed now. He's starting to look tired. He doesn't go for the pin. This is the big spot. Kurt is more than halfway across the ring. And Brock is going up to the top rope for a shooting star press. He slightly slips, and he shorts it. And his neck gets pinned in between Kurt Angle and the mat. He hits the side of Kurt. He doesn't get up and over for the shooting star press. And I will say, Angle does a really good job of covering him for 2, just in case. They don't know. Brock might be out of it. I think Kurt was a little nervous and scared. Did this guy just break his neck? Did he do something? Can he move? Has he got a stinger? So Angle covers him, because if Brock can't kick out, they may have just made an audible and changed the finish right there. Like, that might have been Kurt Angle winning that match if he's not supposed to. If Brock can't gain enough, straight, can get his head straight enough to kick out of that of the pin, attempt there. So I can't believe that somehow, because that was supposed to be the finish, the shooting star press. Meltzer said that was booked to be the finish. Somehow Brock gets up, he blocks Angle, and then he hits an F5 for the win. I mean, other people are not moving. They're getting stretchered out. A lot of it probably has to do with the Brock and just the way he's built and the size of his back and his neck and his shoulders and how big and strong he is. It's scary to watch, and knowing that everybody's okay now, it makes me feel a lot better. But I will say the match is still damn good. It doesn't really take away from the match, but it almost has that feel like the end of the Owen Hart versus Austin match at SummerSlam when Austin gets, like, you can tell that Kurt is kind of, okay, he's still got to get me in the finish somehow. They let him, they kind of, he gets up with an F5 that's still a little nervous that he shouldn't have been doing. We can tell that he's not himself. It's impressive that he does it. It's got that little bit of a weird ending because of that. I don't think it takes a ton away from the match. I still think this is a damn good match. And DZ many people that call this the best WrestleMania ever when you have this match, the Michaels-Jericho match, the Rock-Austin match, and hey, you know what? People, I'm sure, didn't mind the Vince Hogan because it was a brawl. The opening match was good. The women's match was really good. Nothing wrong with the tag. Now we're starting to talk about 6 or 7 matches that were all pretty quality on this show.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question. I mean, I've seen it a million times. When you watch this back, every time that I tried it several times on the Shooting Star Press, my WWE Network froze for 5 seconds, and you don't see the press, and I only see him on the ground holding his head.
Really?
Yep. And it's a very strange thing. I tried it on my computer, and I tried it on the network on my Fire Stick upstairs, and both did the same thing. He got to the top rope, it froze, and then 5 seconds later, he was on the floor rolling around, holding his head. Which is very strange because I know I've seen it on the network before, and you guys obviously saw it. So I am not sure why that's the case. But anyway.
It's a conspiracy against Staten Island.
It very well could be, and right, and justifiably so. Look, you went through there's some crazy moves in this match. I mean, Angle took 2 German suplexes where, when you know the state of what's going on with his neck, how in the world are you taking those? But then from there, Angle hits Lesnar with it's like a belly to back suplex, but
the release, yeah,
Rock does like a 180 and lands on his stomach.
Crazy.
And I remember the first time I saw that. I remember just yelling out, "Oh shit!" Like, wow. I mean, there was when Angle hit the German suplex on Brock early in the match into the turnbuckle. That was another thing. But the weird thing, the thing that I took away from this, watching it back, was it's easy to forget the kinds of matches that Brock Lesnar used to have.
Yes.
And you miss it, that he was able to put on a match like this where it's just, great wrestling moves. It's long, it's not boring by any stretch of the imagination. And you forget that he was so capable of that. And he is such an athlete, but back then, my God, could the guy go. I thought there was a cool moment before the match started where Angle is kind of talking in Brock's face where, for the story, it's supposed to be trash talk, but my guess is that's probably a warm sentiment that's being passed along before the match. The end of after the match, I mean, you look at Brock when he gets his hand raised. I mean, he's not there.
No.
And how he was able to get Angle up and hit that F5. I mean, he is freaking out of it. And then obviously the two of them, embrace after the match, which was really cool to see because obviously you didn't really see that kind of stuff from Lesnar before.
Mm-hmm. And he liked Kurt, he's a guy who doesn't like a lot of guys, but he really loves and respects Kurt.
So when you read about Lesnar, there's a few guys he really likes. Kurt was one of them. Taker obviously was one of them.
Goldberg's another. Yeah.
And believe it or not, Roman is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go figure. But yeah, I thought I'll put it to you this way. By my going back and watching, as much as I did like the Rock Angle match and everything that went with it, out of the 3 matches that could have been the main event, they ended up on the right one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought this match was tremendous. I thought they did great work. I thought it told a great story. And the two of them at the end embracing, with that being kind of the last live shot of the show, I was really good. I really enjoyed this match, and it brought back good memories of what Brock could do. And to be honest with you, it made me kind of miss that, that version of Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
When Brock Lesnar came into the WWE in 2002, It was as if he came straight out of a lab and Vince McMahon had carved him out of granite or put him in a test tube or something. Because that guy...
He was the prototype before the prototype, the John Cena, that he was supposed to be. Yeah.
He ticked every box. And you put him with somebody that could talk for him, like they did with Heyman for a while. They were off to the races with him. He had been in the WWE for a year. He went from OVW to WWE to the main event of their biggest show of the year in 1 year.
He was in the main event of SummerSlam with The Rock, right?
And that was a great match.
It was.
The one thing that I will say to Darin's point about missing those kinds of matches with Brock still can have those kinds of matches. The bigger problem is he doesn't have to. And that's a difference in the product. Yeah. If you look at the matches that he's had with AJ Styles, with Daniel Bryan.
Balor was pretty good. Yeah.
Even the Roman Reigns match where Seth Rollins cashed in. People forget how good that match was.
Or the triple threat with Rollins and Cena. Yeah.
Yeah. There are matches in later day Brock's career that remind you how good he can be when he wants to be that good. The problem is he doesn't have to be that kind of worker because of the way the product is structured. And I shouldn't say problem because this is a guy that shows up, wrestles once every couple of months, doesn't have to take a whole lot of bumps, gets paid a whole bunch of money, and gets to go home to Sable. You know what?
Yeah.
That's a pretty darn good life. And
think
good
a lot
on
of
him for that.
Yeah, I think some of it comes down to motivation too, right? Like for him, when he gets in the ring with those guys that either he likes, they're his buddies, or he wants to, the stuff that he did with Taker a few years ago after the streak was really good.
The Hell in a Cell match where they both popped up laughing.
That was so
great.
Good. They had
fantastic.
A good series that felt like a really hot program. He was giving a little bit, and he will sell and he will give to the Daniel Bryans and the AJs of the world. Yeah, it's just you see this match and you could tell how much he wanted to put on a show. He wanted to steal the show. He wanted to one-up Kurt. Not one-up, but it was like him and Kurt were wanting to one-up each other, and it was like he when he gets in the ring with someone like this and they push it out of him, he still has it. But yeah, like you said, he just, unfortunately, if you're him, you don't really need to do that night in and night out anymore.
Now,
and we can't really blame him.
Yeah. The reason I thought this match worked, and I didn't take a whole heck of a lot of notes, I thought the story dominated this match, and it was a great story because they did a lot of amateur stuff early. The first 8 minutes of this match was all waist locks and takedowns and whatnot, and that worked because it made the power moves that they would bust out matter so much more. You look at the Rock-Austin match, good as it was. Austin hits a rock bottom, Rock hits a stunner, and it doesn't seem like it really matters. Angle hits a released German suplex that Lesnar does a flip cell out of. That matters. Angle hits a couple of Germans in a row. That matters. Lesnar hits a power slam. That matters. The F5 matters. The shooting star press absolutely would have mattered if he had hit it. And I don't know if he slipped or if he just got into the rotation late because he's halfway to Angle and he hasn't started rotating yet. And that, I think, is what caused him almost paralyzing himself.
Yeah,
it's scary. And I did not see that on the network feed. I'm watching it on my Xbox One. And I saw that. The one thing I'll say is he comes down, the camera angle that they have that's sort of close to him with Angle in the foreground and Lesnar coming at him, it looks not great, but it doesn't look bad. You can tell in the replay after the match, though, when they show the reverse angle and you hear Taz go, "Oh my God, how is he still walking?"
Yeah.
That's somebody that has broken his neck. That's somebody that walked into a hospital on a broken neck. That's someone who knows what that feels like. And that adds gravitas to that moment. I don't think that ruins that match at all. I think it gives Lesnar a sense of he's human. He's not necessarily a machine that we saw him come into the WWE as. He's developed his character enough to where he can do stuff like that, and it doesn't hurt him. Credit to Angle for guiding Lesnar through that. Can't imagine the pain that Lesnar would have felt, getting Angle up for the F5. Hitting a presentable F5, by the way, given that he was in La La Land. This was a really good match. It's not my favorite match on this show, but that's only because I am a fanboy for the Michaels Jericho match.
Yeah.
This was almost as good. It was a fitting end to the show, and it reestablished Brock as one of the guys moving forward. If you were to tell me that the next year he would get booed out of Madison Square Garden
and then be gone,
I wouldn't have believed you.
And then he was gone.
Yeah, and the career arc of Brock Lesnar.
It's a podcast on its own. It's phenomenal.
Between now and the end of the world, 4 billion years from now, or whenever global warming scorches us all up, we will never see that again. We will never see amateur wrestler, WWE, tries to go for the NFL, darn near makes the team. UFC, almost dies from diverticulitis, goes back to WWE, becomes just as big a star as he was when he left, and winds up only having to work a couple of dates a year to make gigantic money. They'll be talking about this guy for hundreds, thousands of years, however long there is combat sports and professional wrestling. There's a lot worse legacies to have.
It's a 9-match card. Matt Hardy, Rey Mysterio, Undertaker versus Big Show, A-Train, Trish versus Victoria versus Jazz, Team Angle versus Benoit and Rhino versus Los Guerreros, Michaels, Jericho, Triple H versus Booker T, Hogan, McMahon, The Rock, Stone Cold, and then Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle. And for all we can say about the Hogan-Vince match, if you like it, if you don't, what I like about this show is those last 5 matches, they feel like WrestleMania matches. They do. They're a little longer. There's a back and forth. There's a little more oomph you feel from all the performers. They're trying all the crap with the Triple H, Booker T, that storyline. It still felt like a WrestleMania match, like what they would have. It just had a crappy ending to it. And if you are one of the people out there that want to say this is your favorite WrestleMania, I'm not going to argue with you. If you think this is the best one, I'm probably not going to argue with you either. I can't really remember another show that has 3 matches that good that I like, an opener, like a really fun Mysterio Hardy opener that I wish could go a little longer, a really strong women's match that was a pleasant surprise to me. So, Darin, this is one of the it was a little long, it was a little under 4 hours, but it didn't really feel, we've watched shows that felt longer to me than this that were 2 hours and 40 minutes, because I was interested in a lot of what was going on. This was a good pick. This was a good show. Very little bad to say, and the bad was just, the Undertaker was really out of place, and maybe we didn't need as much of the catfight women on the show, and maybe you give the tag a few extra minutes. But I mean, we've had shows where we have a lot to complain about. There wasn't a whole ton to complain about here.
No, I mean, the booking of Triple H and Booker T.
2 or 3 things that could have been better.
What I find interesting, so, I mean, if you go through, any lists of top WrestleManias, people review them. Some people are crazy enough to rank them, 1 to 36 in order, which I guess could be fun, but my God, please find something better to do with your time. Then go through 36 WrestleMania, rank 1 to 36. But this show is in most people's top 5. 17 and 19, are typically top 5, top 6, top 7 matches, or shows, I should say. And the part of that that's surprising to me is that it's considered that good, and you have one of the Undertaker's more lackluster matches. Mm-hmm. When we think about WrestleManias, aside from the ones prior to Taker, notably WrestleMania 3, a lot of the WrestleManias that are considered very good, Taker's got a big moment. This one, very far from a big moment. So I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, I just remembered this as being a very fun show with a lot of good matches. Obviously, the Michaels-Jericho match for me is an all-time favorite. It is also my favorite match on the show, much like Andrew. But there's 3 or 4 damn good matches in here. It's an easy watch. It's long, but it doesn't drag. And, when you have about 3.5 hours to kill and you're looking for something to watch, you could do a lot worse than this show.
WWE had a really good run of WrestleManias from 17 to 20. Now, 20 hasn't aged well, and we're not going to talk about why. 19 was really darn good. It had something for everybody. It was a case where, again, as Gino mentioned, everybody tried hard and everybody brought it. And even the bad stuff felt like it belonged on a WrestleMania stage. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot that felt like, oh, this was a Sunday night heat match, or the WCW stuff we've done, oh, this felt like a worldwide match or a Saturday night match where they never get out of first gear. At the very least, you had matches get out of first gear and in some cases kick it into a really high gear. HBK Jericho to me is an all-timer. Angle Lesnar is there. Rock Austin has a lot of historical significance, especially looking back on it now. There's some other stuff on the show that's at the very least a fun watch. The Mysterio Hardy match is a really cool opener. Mysterio, unfortunately, has had the distinction of being shoved into a couple of Mania matches that seemed like they got cut really short on time. The match he had in 2010 against CM Punk is as good a 6-minute match as you're ever going to see, and it should have been 3 times that given some of the garbage that went on that show. But it's a good show. For me, it's certainly a top 10 Mania, top 5 probably. I'm not one of those crazy people that ranks WrestleManias, other than to say 3 will always have a soft spot in my heart and probably be number 1 from now until the end of time. But really good show. Really happy that we watched it outside of the whole Limp Bizkit thing, which was just a painful reminder that the early 2000s was not a good period for popular music.
Okay, Andrew, so you are up. Where are we going to be headed next week for our old wrestling rewatch?
All right, so my honorable mention was Hog Wild 1996.
We'll get there one day. We'll get there
one day. That was going to be my punishment to Darin for having the nerve to have his birthday and anniversary be in the same week. But on a serious note, a couple of weeks ago, we reviewed the 1996 Great American Bash. That was a tough pick for me because there was another show that jumped up at me and was reminded it's one of my favorite shows. That was the week that The Undertaker announced his quote-unquote retirement. Whether or not we believe that, I don't know. We'll see if there's Saudi money that could potentially lure him back. I don't think we've necessarily seen the last of the guy, but one of my favorite Undertaker matches is one nobody talks about, and it comes on the same show as probably my second favorite Royal Rumble of all time. We're going to take a leap forward here. We're going to go to the Royal Rumble in 2010. The Rumble is spectacular.
Nice.
It's perfectly booked. That's the Rumble where CM Punk cuts promos between all the entrants. It's spaced perfectly. There's a great shock return near the end. The Final Four is great. That's the story where Shawn Michaels is trying to win to get his match with The Undertaker. So good. The hidden gem is a one-time, never before and I think never again match between The Undertaker and Rey Mysterio. This is Sting Vader to the letter. It is a great match. Every time I rewatch Rumbles through the years, I make it a point to watch that match as a lead-in. It's one of my all-time favorites. There's not a whole heck of a lot to the undercard. There's 4 matches, I think, before that match and then the Rumble. It's a quick watch. It's a fun watch, and I'm really looking forward to that. Royal Rumble 2010, it's good stuff. We'll get to Hogan reigning supreme and forcing Paul White to lay down for 10 minutes for no good reason at some point in the future, I'm sure. This one, though, I'm looking forward to it, and I may very well fire it up in the background as I get to handicapping the rest of Saratoga.
There you go. Good selection. We are later now on the timeline. We're up into the 2010s with a 2010 Royal Rumble. So, Darin, we have some homework for next week. Good pick here. and I'm sure you're excited. We're recording this on Tuesday night. It's going to be on the Thursday show this week on That's What G Said. So we'll have an opening weekend of Saratoga coming up. We now have Del Mar coming up. Monmouth Park is going to have some of their big races coming up. We just got to keep our fingers crossed and see now that a lot of the jocks are going to, hopefully be staying put, because the traveling over the last few weeks has not done them well.
No, it definitely hasn't. It's tough at Saratoga because I feel bad for the jockeys that don't get a lot of power up there but want to ride up there. Obviously, for the nostalgia of it, to be able to say you rode a meet at Saratoga, and also to try to, open up some eyes. But they can fill the gap in the past by riding at Delaware or Parks on a Monday or a Tuesday, or, doing that here and there. It's going to be difficult on those guys that are getting 1 or 2 mounts a day to have to make that decision, and to only have, really 72 hours to make that decision, 48 hours, in fact, now. So I feel bad for them, but from a health standpoint, it's the right move. Look, the one thing I can tell you about here in New York is that so far, when it comes to COVID in New York, things continue to trend in the right direction. I can't explain why that's the case when everything else in the country seems to be going the wrong way. I don't know what we're doing differently. I know everybody's wearing masks and we're being careful and so on and so forth. But hopefully that's a good sign for the Saratoga meet. Hopefully we get to enjoy it the way we normally do, even without fans. It is still Saratoga, and it is always the biggest puzzle of the year for me from a handicapping standpoint. Andrew, it'll probably cost me money as it does every year, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'm an upstate New York boy. I worked for the Saratogian full-time for a couple of years. I'm the featured handicapper there once again. I am looking for title number 5 in the last 7 years. Also looking to win the all-media title for the first time since 2017.
Oh, Greg.
You know what? You feed me, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to warn you all in
Feed
advance.
the beast.
Gimmick Andrew is prepared to come out and play. I don't take a full-time check from anybody in the racing business. Gloves are off. If you mess with the bull, you will get the horns. On a serious note, I love Saratoga. Saratoga is the track that caused me to fall in love with racing. No disrespect intended to the smaller tracks that are out there, many of whom do a tremendous job. If Saratoga is the first track that you go to, you're hooked. There's no other way to put it. It is a beautiful, beautiful place with so much history, so much charm. The people there do such a good job putting on that meet every year. The stuff with the jockeys, it's unfortunate, but one of the things that we need to remember in the face of COVID-19, and not just in racing, in a lot of different areas, is there are no good options. This is a case where NYRA is making the best out of a really bad situation. And if you approach things with the knowledge that there are no good options, that there are no absolutes, this is a public service announcement for a lot of people on Twitter out there that have become very opinionated and, in my opinion, very narrow-minded and very wrong. If you think there's only one way to approach a situation in the face of a global pandemic, just shut up. There's nothing wrong with saying you don't know. There's nothing wrong with not swinging at every pitch. Understand that the people that are running this meet are doing the very best they can in the midst of a horrible situation. We almost did not have a Saratoga meet this year. There were a lot of people that wanted racing to just continue at Belmont Park, and I wouldn't have faulted NYRA too much for doing that. I think we're incredibly lucky to have racing of any sort at Saratoga. People who want fans at Saratoga who think, oh, I'll be responsible, so everything is fine. That's not the way the world works. Enjoy Saratoga for what it is. I know I will. You can follow me on Twitter at @AndrewChampagne. AndrewChampagne.com will have all my picks, analysis, bankroll plays, everything else that I do. This is where I make the donuts every year as a handicapper. I live the other 44 weeks of the year as a horse racing fan for these 8 weeks. I'm going to enjoy them. I'm going to love them. I'm going to do the best I can to give out some winners and make some money. Hope you come along for the ride. How's
Awesome,
that for a promo?
That's a good
stuff. Good way to end. Great job, Andrew. And Andrew's got a really good article up too that talks about when he went to Pebble Beach. You can check that out. It's really good.
So much fun.
I was going to say, on a lighter note, from one golfer to another, how was that experience?
On a scale of 10, a 21.8. That was unbelievable for a number of reasons. And you can take a look at my column. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it for more than 30 seconds without getting a little misty-eyed on it because there's some personal significance with the 7th hole at Pebble Beach. Silly as it sounds, you'll get it when you read the article. It was so much fun. I got to spend that with my father. That was a bucket list thing for him. And we had a beautiful day for it. Mid-60s, ocean breeze coming in. It was lovely. If you have the money to do that once, do it. You're not going to be disappointed. Pro tip, though, and Darin, I know you had mentioned potentially going to Pebble at some point as was like a 40th birthday thing for you at some point.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking, yeah.
Get a caddy. Just pay the money. Make sure that you do that. And not for the reasons of, they know their way around so you won't get lost, whatever. They provide as invaluable a service at Pebble Beach as anything. This one in particular that we had was actually taking pictures and videos of us on his phone the entire round so we would have something to remember the experience by. Was telling stories about Jim Nance greeting people because he's got a house there. It's so much fun. It adds so much to the experience. And you really don't care what you shoot when you go to a place like that. You go in, you soak in the sights, and if you break 100, it's a plus. The back nine at Pebble Beach will eat your lunch. It ate my lunch pretty good. You saw some of the approach shots I had to deal with if you followed me on Twitter. But it's awesome. If you haven't read the article yet, it's up on my website. I've got pictures. I've got some videos. It's a cool thing. And before anyone says anything, yes, I know it hurts to watch me address the club. I'm 6'5". I'm swinging a wedge. I'm working on it. I'm way up here. The ball's way down there. There ain't a whole hell of a lot I can do. I was pretty happy I stuck that wedge within 40 feet and made par.
Andrew, how many balls did you lose on 6 and 18 over there?
Let's see. 6, I didn't lose any.
What?
Yeah, I didn't lose any on 18 either. I lost the ball on 4. I lost the ball on 8. I lost the ball on 9, and I lost 2 balls on the back 9. I kept it in play for the most part. The over-under was 7.5. If you took the over, you lost.
He was playing David Sims, though. He was just laying up all over the place, I bet.
No. I'm not good enough to lay up all over the place. I was going after it.
There you go.
I'll leave us with this regarding Pebble Beach, Andrew. There's a great documentary on YouTube about Tiger Woods' 2000 U.S. Open at Pebble. It's called Epic Opens. And in there is a story about that year he couldn't finish the second round on Friday. He had to start it up again early Saturday morning on the 13th hole. The night before, he was practicing putting in his room.
Oh, I heard about this. It's so good.
Yeah, he took 3 balls out of his bag to practice putting. So they get to the 13th hole, and his caddy at the time, Steve Williams, I believe was his name?
Yes, Steve Williams.
Yeah. He goes into the bag to get ball number 1 to start the day, and there's only 3 bags in the ball. 3 balls in the bag. And he forgot, he had no idea that Tiger took balls out of the bag to practice putting. So he's got 3 balls to get through 6 holes, which for Tiger Woods is not a big deal. But on 13, he scuffs a ball and throws it into the crowd. So now you got 2 balls left for 5 holes. He gets to 18. And remember that Tiger Woods in this U.S. Open was one of the most ridiculous things you'll ever see.
It was Secretariat at the Belmont.
It was. But he gets to 18 and he goes driver. And if you know the 18th at Pebble, it's the par 5 along the cliff that if you go left, the ball's gone. And he goes driver and he mishits it and the thing just goes directly left and the ball's gone. So now he's got 1 ball left in the bag. But at this point, Tiger's up by 9 shots at the end of the second round. And Steve Williams is trying to tell Tiger to hit a 7-iron. And Tiger's telling Steve Williams, you see the way I'm hitting the ball? Why in the world would I hit a 7-iron? Give me the damn ball. and instead of taking like the drop, right, he hits again with the driver from the tee on 18, not knowing, because Steve Williams never tells him, it's the last ball in the bag.
Could have been DQ'd.
This ball goes off the cliff. He can't turn in a scorecard with a 9-stroke lead in the second round of the U.S. Open. It's a great story.
It's beautiful. And it's, again, I don't want to harp on this too much. If you're a golfer of any sort, any skill level, it's a bucket list thing. Yeah. The people at Pebble Beach will treat you like gold. You don't have to be a tremendous golfer to have a great time there. I had a couple of moments of random competence, but you don't need to be Tiger Woods to enjoy yourself at Pebble Beach. It's an experience that if you can do, you should.
Follow him on Twitter. Darin Zoccali is at the Track 7. Andrew Champagne is at Andrew Champagne. You hear him on here talking old wrestling rewatches each and every week. We've got our homework for next week. We're going to be talking 2010 Royal Rumble. Fellas, thank you very much. Hope you have a great opening weekend there at Saratoga. Good luck, and look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thanks, Gino.
Folks, do not go anywhere. We got a little bit left here on That's What G Said. Stay tuned. Thanks again for listening, folks. Hope everybody has an awesome weekend. Make sure to support the sponsors of That's What G Said. Thrive Fantasy. Use the promo code Gino. Sarah Candles. Use that promo code Gino. Cindy Carava for all of your real estate needs. Don't forget about playing in the Stable Duel contest on Friday and Saturday. And make sure to play over at Pleasanton those Friday and Saturday pick fives. OldSmokeClothing.com. Use the promo code Gino. Make sure to subscribe, download, rate, review, share the show with your friends all over the place. Have a great weekend, folks.